Today on Dr. Phil, a volatile marriage.
She swung a crowbar at me.
That's crazy.
Excuse me, why was there a crowbar in the bedroom?
He lists 25 reasons
You said she's been demeaning of you in front of your daughter.
I yell and call names.
why he wants a divorce.
You're a sugar baby?
I was.
You agreed to this.
Not only did he agree, but he would text these men for me because he said, I know what men want to hear.
That never happened.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Okay. I need your help. I need you to remain standing if you would file for divorce because your partner was physically violent towards you in front of your child, worked as a sugar baby, had an affair, and engaged in sexually deviant behavior for money. So you guys would file for divorce. Okay, now, sit down if you would withdraw the divorce if your partner then told you the reason for their behavior was linked to childhood abuse. It's a tough room. So you wouldn't care. All right, everybody take a seat. Just wanted to know. That's the situation Ryan says he was facing when he filed for divorce from his wife of 4.5 years, Danielle. Now, Ryan claims he didn't buy his wife's excuse and he insisted that she take a polygraph test. These are the results. But first, even though Danielle admits to being a sugar baby and cheating on Ryan, she says she never prostituted herself. She claims Ryan made that up, and other spiteful lies in an attempt to have their 2-year-old daughter taken from her. Take a look.
My wife, Danielle, has a lot of anger inside of her, and she seeks out conflict on pretty much a daily basis.
There's never a let up. I'm never not angry at you. I'll admit that my anger is sometimes off the chart. I can go from 0 to 100 in just a snap of a finger. Taking full custody and telling me I can only have her when you're working and I have no say in anything that she's going to do, I'm going to flip out.
My marriage was going backwards because Danielle felt like she wasn't happy, and then she started to threaten to split up the family.
I'm not sexually attracted to Ryan anymore. When Ryan is at his worst, he acts like an 8-year-old.
To buy myself more time to save our marriage, I did allow her to go on sugar daddy websites.
Do you ever think I would have ever thought that I needed to do something drastic to save money if you hadn't, like, not paid federal taxes? We owed $20,000 to the IRS. I only wanted to sign up to be a sugar baby to put us back in a better financial situation.
We were in Jamaica for our 4th year wedding anniversary. We spent about $5,000 that she had made working as the sugar baby.
Ryan found out that I had a one-night affair. He told me that he went through my phone and saw the text messages. He said that that was a deal breaker and that he was going to file for divorce.
She completely lost it, climbed out on the balcony and threatened to jump off if I didn't change my mind about the divorce.
The divorce papers listed that I had a one-night affair, which I don't deny, but one of Ryan's allegations is that I slapped our daughter. Ryan claims that I'm a prostitute, and that's absolutely not true.
Danielle does resent me for what I put in the divorce decree about our child, and we fight constantly about it.
This speaks volumes about Ryan. I've lost any kind of spark that was between me and Ryan just because of all the damage that's been done over the past few months.
Okay, now I'm wrapping my head around this. Ryan, you say that Danielle is physically and verbally abusive, and you both say that the marriage is going backwards.
Absolutely.
And you say that you're not really in love with him.
Right now, I feel like I'm not in love with him anymore.
So what's still giving you guys hope? Why are you here? Do you want to stay married? Do you not want to stay married?
I feel like I'm like 50-50. Like 50% of me wants to fix this and make it right between us, and the other part is like I'm so stepped out after all the crap and all the damage that's gone on over the past 6 months or so that I'm just like done.
And I'm 100% committed. I feel like there's still a lot of love there, and I feel like it can absolutely be saved, and we just need help to get there.
Okay, you're a sugar baby?
Not anymore, but I was.
Okay, but look, you guys are going to have to help me. I'm just an old country boy from Texas, and I've been married 42 years, okay? And we've been together 46, which means I haven't been on a date in 47 years.
I know.
With anybody other than Robin. But you're going to have to help me. How do you bring up the conversation about being a sugar baby in your marriage? Because I just can't imagine sitting around the breakfast table and Robin saying, could you pass the coffee? And by the way, I'm gonna register as a sugar baby and start going out with some other guys. Okay with you? I just can't imagine how you bring that up in conversation.
Well, it wasn't just like, yeah, out of nowhere like that. So Ryan constantly puts us in financial troubles, and
you can't get in that much financial trouble at my house that you're going to go out and be a sugar baby.
Well, that was like when I figured, like, oh my gosh, this is the 4th time he's doing it. Like, we're just in debt over and over again.
I would eat the wallpaper before I would send my wife out on the street to date some other guys for money. I'm sorry, I don't. Well, how the hell is that okay with you?
But he agreed to it.
You agreed to this.
Yes, and not only did he agree, but he actively participated. He would text these men for me because he said, I know what men want to hear. He's lying because he said it in front of my dad. He said it to my dad.
That never happened a single time.
My dad was living with us.
Oh, so your dad knew about this too?
Yes. And he would he was on my phone. Ryan was on my phone. My dad did a double take, like, why is Ryan on Danielle's phone? And Ryan said, oh, I'm texting these guys for Danielle because I know what men want to hear.
That absolutely never happened a single time.
Yes, he would be at work.
Hold on, so let's back up for a second. The way this all came about was after we had our daughter, she had some postpartum depression.
No, this is real, Tyler. This is real.
And then her parents got divorced on their 30th anniversary, and she started for months and months putting out, okay, I'm not happy here. I want to split up. I want to break apart our family. I'm not happy with you. I want to go out on the weekends. You can have her on the weekends while you're off work. And I was doing anything that I could to try to recoup, kind of revive our marriage. And she brought this up, and she told me, she gave me the ultimatum that if you don't come along with this and let me do this, then that's it. We're going to divorce. We're splitting up. So I was kind of trying to bide some time to try to fix things.
You maintain that you're a sugar baby. You just don't provide the sugar? What?
Oh, yeah, like going out on dates.
It's almost kind of like one of those Nigerian scams. She thought of it as like a business thing.
No,
like,
this is not a Nigerian scam.
Well, I'm saying you would just scam them out of their money.
Well, and like Ryan would be at work, and he would find naked pictures and like lingerie pictures of like girls on the internet, and he'd text it to me and say, here, I found some pictures for you to send to these guys.
Well, because you were first sending yourself to them, and I said, don't do that.
Wait a minute, I thought you said you weren't helping her send messages to the sugar daddies.
No, I didn't help. She would send nudes of herself out, and I said, there's no way, like, absolutely not.
Oh, you draw the line at that.
Well, I'm saying this is...
She can go, but don't send pictures ahead of time.
No, I'm saying A is better than B. I didn't want anything to do with this. I tried to make the best of a terrible situation.
Thank you. I mean, this is common sense.
And
you can't understand why you're having problems here?
But there were problems before then, like the money, everything. We were always in debt. He was always putting us in debt, and I was just scared.
Ryan says while his wife Danielle was meeting her sugar baby clients, he was left at home holding their baby, and suspects things with one client went a lot further. A lot further than what? We'll talk more about this when we come back, and I got some questions.
Ryan most definitely benefited from the money as well. We paid off his car, his student loans, a trip to Jamaica, lots of nice dinners, and I got a boob job.
And later, you didn't believe Danielle when she told you about her childhood trauma.
She'd never mentioned anything about this.
Then he demands a polygraph test. This is just crazy.
Danielle has been physically abusive to me.
Ryan claims that I hit him in front of our daughter. That's ridiculous, telling somebody they're violent and hitting you when they haven't been violent and hit you at all.
Yes, you
That's
have.
ridiculous. I was physically violent with Ryan one time. After I slapped Ryan, he threw me down onto the floor, pushing his knees so hard into my back, I thought my implants were going to explode.
One situation was we keep a kind of like a crowbar tire iron underneath the bed here, and she was so angry, she swung it at me, and I did kind of block it with my arm.
Ryan tends to blow things out of proportion, put his hands up almost as if he's under arrest. I'm laughing because it's like ridiculous. Totally not true. Never hit him with a crowbar.
You absolutely did.
That's attempted murder. I've never done that. That's crazy.
Excuse me, why was there a crowbar in the bedroom?
We don't have any guns or anything in the house,
No.
so it was in case of intruders.
No, long story
That's
short,
what
we
it's there
nearly
for.
almost had an intruder, and then I was like, oh my gosh, we don't have anything. Like, what happens if somebody did break in this house?
Yeah,
and then
it's
he
just
put the
for
crowbar
protection.
underneath.
What do you
the
mean
bed.
you nearly almost had an intruder?
Somebody texted on my phone and said, what are you doing? It's so late out. The lights are on in your bedroom. We're like, what?
Well, and when the
We
person...
thought somebody was outside our house.
Yeah.
Well, I
somebody
can't
walked-
imagine why you would be concerned.
No, this was long before this whole
Well, and
crap
somebody
with
tried
us.
to break
Well,
in.
Ryan says he served these divorce papers to his wife, Danielle, in June. In them, he listed 25 reasons why the marriage has failed, which included, among other things, his wife working as a sugar baby. But Danielle says Ryan was always on board, benefited from the proceeds, meaning that she got money, brought it home, he benefited from that. He used the money, and that he even messaged her clients because he, quote, knew what men wanted to hear. Take a look.
When I told Ryan about my idea to be a sugar baby, he was fully on board. I knew it would be fast and easy money.
I was forced into it.
Yeah, no, you were not forced into it. Nobody held a gun to your head. Ryan is a hypocrite. Ryan was absolutely actively involved. He would take my phone and he would text these men for me because he said, I know what guys want to hear.
That's absolutely a delusion. I've never done anything like that.
You aren't along for the ride, going along with everything, enjoying all the money, spending it on yourself. Ryan most definitely benefited from the money as well. We paid off his car, his student loans, a trip to Jamaica, lots of nice dinners, and I got a boob job.
Danielle got turned on and excited from having the money.
I would make between $100 and $500 for a date with one of these men. All in all, I made $40,000 to $50,000. This restaurant right here, I've met some people here that I met off of a website. And you try to trick them, make them think, oh, I like you. You don't. You get your money and go.
Danielle's agreement to a compromise was that she would not meet anybody new on the website.
I only wanted to sign up to be a sugar baby to put us back in a better financial situation. I don't care what I do to make a living.
Okay, you made how much money?
Probably between $40,000 and $50,000.
At $300 to $500 a time?
Yes, but there was other times where one time somebody gave me $14,000.
$14,000.
Yeah.
And she went out of town twice. to
Is
different
this the
people.
person you went to Arizona with twice?
That gave me the 14 grand, yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have sex with him?
No.
You're a hell of a dinner companion. Ryan says there were 25 reasons he wanted a divorce. So the statements in red, Danielle denies. Okay, so he said, committed marital misconduct, engages in sexually deviant behavior. What is the sexually deviant behavior?
Well, it's not that far of a jump to go from she's going out on these dates or whatever, dinner dates, and then all of a sudden she's got $4 grand that she's coming home with. So as far as hardcore proof, if something happened, those lines aren't that far apart.
Okay.
participates in sexual activity for money. You say you have no proof of that. Accepts money from men that she's met online. Leaves the child to meet up with men that were found online. Threatens Ryan with police if he refuses to allow her to participate in sexual contact with other men.
Not true. What are you going to call the police? My husband won't let me go out with another guy.
Yeah, that was our big fight where it was in February where I was like, this has got to stop. Like, this has absolutely never been okay. It's got to stop, and I'm done with this. And you fought me and got physical with me, and then you said that if I didn't agree to let you keep going along with it, that you call the police. You did call the police.
I called the police because he was like kneeling down on me.
No, you called.
And I just had my boobs done, so I thought my incisions were going to open.
What would you consider outside the boundaries of a marriage? What would you say? That's too far.
Well,
what would you say?
I
That's
did
just
do
too far.
something too far. I did have an affair.
It's all out of line, every bit of it.
Okay, well, so is going along with it then, I guess, and texting men for me.
That's your word. That is not at all what happened.
Okay, well, somebody's not telling me the truth. You say that he's texting men for you because he knows what they want to hear. You're saying that's not true. Somebody's not telling me the truth. There are not versions of the truth. You either did that or you didn't.
He absolutely did. And he said it to my dad. You said, I'm texting these guys for her because I know what guys want to hear.
That's a made-up story.
Does it make sense to y'all that this is not what a marriage is based on? Does it seem reasonable to you, money or otherwise, that you're out seeing other men for money? Does it seem to you that that's a reasonable solution to financial challenges within a marriage?
Since I don't have a college education, yeah.
Not a single bit. Not any part of it was, is, ever was.
Does it bother you that that would be okay with your husband?
No.
That doesn't bother you that
That he's okay. That if he's okay with it,
Yeah.
that doesn't bother me.
That doesn't bother you?
No, because it's not a real relationship. It's just faking it to, like, make some money.
Wow. Okay, Ryan says when Danielle told him she had been abused as a child, he did not believe her and insisted she take a polygraph exam. But Danielle says the thing that was truly tested by his demand was her love for Ryan. We're going to find out just how much and what she means by that after the break.
Hey, I'm on the Dr. Phil show stage right now. Do you remember when I was doing the sugar baby stuff and Ryan would get on my phone and text the guys for me because he told you, quote, I know what guys want to hear?
And later, why did you marry him?
It was just like fun.
If we're fighting, if you would ask her the same question, I started dating him because he makes money and I have sex with him so I can spend his money and he won't get mad at me.
If I was going to marry somebody for
You
money,
just said that last week.
It wouldn't be a pharmacist. Hey, I'm on the Dr. Phil show stage right now. Okay, I just have one question. Do you remember when I was doing the sugar baby stuff when I was online? And I was like doing whatever, and Ryan would get on my phone and text the guys for me because he told you, quote, I know what guys want to hear.
Yeah, and I said, I don't think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Here's Dr. Phil.
You're a very good sport, and thank you. We didn't mean to ambush you in that way, but it really helps to clear up because she was telling exactly what you just said, and to have that verified is really very helpful in helping these guys work this out.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be up to them to work things out. Nobody can solve anybody's problems but themselves. They got to be responsible for their own actions.
Well, sometimes having some guidance does help. You're very kind to take the time to help us out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry.
He seems like a very reasonable guy. So who's telling the truth here? Her dad says it's happened exactly the way she said it happened, and he wasn't listening to what we were saying before he verified exactly what she was saying.
I know they've talked about it before the show, before we came on, but that absolutely never happened. I only have motivation to tell the truth here because I wrote into the show and I want all the help that we can get, but I can't lie. I would be lying if I told you it happened, and I don't want to lie.
Yeah, you say that you didn't believe Danielle when she told you about her childhood trauma.
So, yeah, it was kind of in like the 11th hour of the divorce. Like, everything was filed, we were going through it, and 7 years into knowing her, she had never mentioned anything about this. And I had a major life decision to make at the moment, and I completely regret having her do what I had her do, and I apologize.
No, he doesn't. If you regretted that, you wouldn't have forced me.
I apologized over and over for having you do it. I just didn't know what else to do. At that point, I couldn't believe you.
That's just like everything I was working on to work through that, all the progress I made, it like brought me back to square one.
Basically, the polygraph asked whether or not she was abused as a child, sexually and physically, and the results, she said yes, and the results are that that was not deceptive, that she in fact was telling the truth, and apparently it was not a close call. Mm-hmm. So she was telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I just resent him for this, like me finally opening up and telling him this, and then he demands a polygraph test. It's like, this is just crazy.
And I'm certainly not going to be specific about it here because that is your business, and so I'm not going to ask you about it here. I'm not going to talk about it here. But you told him that. He didn't believe you. You verified that that was true, just like you verified what happened concerning contacting the sugar babies and him helping you. You verified that with your father when your bluff was called on that. Ryan says when he filed a divorce, he wanted full custody of their 2-year-old daughter because Danielle was not mentally stable enough to be a good mother, something Danielle says she cannot forgive. So there's a lot of resentment being built up here because of challenges that are being made to things that she says are just simply not true. Resentment being built up here because he says she's doing things that are offensive to his sensibilities as a man and a husband and a father. So this just seems like a powder keg, and they're giving off sparks. So what do we do after the break? You said that there's been emotional violence, name-calling, yelling.
All the time.
Do you have any respect for him?
Not after the lies in regards to our daughter. Ryan says that I like to live the high life. I spend spare money on Botox, fillers, plastic surgery because a woman should feel great about herself. I've had my breasts done 2 times, and I would definitely have more plastic surgery.
Danielle vicariously lives through the Kardashians. Danielle wants the Hollywood millionaire lifestyle, but always makes sure to remind me that we only have a very average life.
Who doesn't like nice things? But I'm realistic, and I know that's not reality. I never, ever go and do things that I know that we cannot afford.
Well, Ryan and Danielle have been married for nearly 5 years, and they both agree that their marriage, well, they agree it's just a mess. Mm-hmm. Danielle admits to cheating on Ryan, but says Ryan's false accusations made in the divorce papers attempting to paint her as an unfit mother just went too far. Now, what is it he said about you being unfit that crossed the line for you? What did he say?
He lied and said that I hit her.
That you hit your child. Did you? Would you?
He says when she comes running to me, when she wants me to like hold her if she's upset or whatever, that I push her away.
Mm-hmm. You have done that on multiple occasions whenever you're frustrated with her crying.
No, yeah. I never, ever have ever hit her.
You have forcibly pushed her.
No.
And the hitting her was just a slap on the leg during a diaper change to get her to hold still, so that wasn't a big deal. But you have forcibly pushed her. Because
well, number 18, you said slapped and forcefully pushed the daughter.
Yeah.
So has she slapped your daughter?
Only on the leg a little bit during a diaper change.
Well, that's not what you said that she slapped your daughter.
Right, that's incorrect.
Was that overstated?
Overstated, absolutely.
Why did you say that?
Because for 7 years, I have always made sure to put Danielle first and her needs before mine. And after everything that had happened and the affair and everything, then I was like, I'm going to put myself first for once.
So you misrepresented in this list?
It was overstated there, yes.
Okay. And you said that she's been physically violent in front of the child?
3 times.
Physically violent with you?
Yes.
And you said that there's been emotional violence, name-calling, yelling?
All the time. Weekly would probably be not an exaggeration at all.
And demeaning of you in front of the child?
100%.
How does she demean you?
She'll call me all kinds of names. You couldn't even pronounce them here, or couldn't even say them on TV. She'll, you know, diminish me as a man. She'll threaten me with other men. Really anything that she thinks is going to hurt me. Anytime somebody does anything to Danielle, she's going to hurt you 10 times more coming back. So anything that's perceived on her end as a slight towards her, she's going to fire back with anything she has.
Is that true? Do you go nuclear?
Yeah, I yell and call names.
Why?
I feel like I could explode, and it just makes me yell. It's so built up frustration, just like to yell and scream at him. It's like it gets a weight off my chest.
Do you have any respect for him?
Not after the lies in regards to our daughter.
That had been going on for years, though. That had nothing to do with after that. All this had been going on for years.
Why did you marry him?
Because he's really, really nice. And it was just like fun. Like every day I'd just be like, oh, I can't wait to get off work and go see Ryan.
See, she explains it this way now, but for example, in a fight, if we're fighting, if you would ask her the same question, then she would answer it back with, I started dating him because he makes money and I have sex with him so I can spend his money and he won't get mad at me.
No, if I was going to if I was going to marry somebody for money,
you just said that last week.
It wouldn't be a pharmacist.
But you did marry him.
Right, meaning I didn't marry him for
Right.
money. I married him because I loved him.
Do you still?
I don't know. I feel like after these lies with my daughter, it's like you could do something to me, that's fine. If you hurt me, like, we can work through that. But if you do something to, like, hurt her, that's going to hurt her, then...
But your grasp on morals are so far off that you look back at that list of everything that you've done nightly, going out with these guys, going out of town when I'm begging you not to go out of town, having an affair. You know, some of these guys knew our address where our daughter lived, like all these things, but then you see that you had no part. You didn't involve our daughter at all, even though you basically did everything.
No, but my intention was to put money away so we could put our daughter through college.
If you were trying to get me to divorce you, you couldn't have done a better job than what you did. I never tried to reduce your role with our daughter.
Did you benefit from the money that she made Sugar Baby in?
All of our money, we use as all of our money.
Yep, and not only that, but when he filed for divorce, he cut the bank account in half. The bank account that I put the Sugar Baby money in, he took half of it.
I feel like she'd been using me for my money for all the years, so right back at you.
So what's this picture?
That's us in Jamaica.
Yeah.
I paid for that trip from the Sugar Baby crap.
Well, Ryan says he bought a copy of my #1 New York Times best-selling book, Relationship Rescue. Obviously, it did the trick. They did some of the exercises, and we'll take a look at what their answers reveal to me next.
During Danielle's time doing the Sugar Baby websites, I bought the Dr. Phil Relationship Rescue book as another effort to try to bring us back on the right path.
When we went through the book together, it felt like a bonding moment between the two of us. The book helped, and it did feel like our relationship was stronger.
I feel like a fool now because I was very committed to the book, and while we were going through it, she decided to go out of town with the second client.
One of the questions in the book asks, do you feel out of shape or overweight? And I'm thinking, hell no, I am, like, gorgeous. I had a baby, I dropped 50 pounds, so, like, I'm looking great.
Well, Ryan says before serving divorce papers to his once Sugar Baby wife, Danielle, he bought a copy of my #1 New York Times best-selling book, Relationship Rescue. He says the book brought them closer together and ultimately closer to meeting me. But what do their responses to the book exercises tell me about them? Well, first off, I want to take a look at Danielle's answers to defining the problem. Sometimes I want to divorce, then what makes me angry is not getting my way. I wish sometimes I hadn't gotten married. When I get angry, I yell and ignore Ryan's feelings. Sometimes wish I was alone. My best quality is almost everything. My partner hates it when I don't take his thoughts seriously. My partner's greatest fear is losing this family. What hurts me when my partner thinks I cheated on him. I feel the most lonely when Ryan and I are fighting. I am afraid I shouldn't have gotten married. What surprises me is how much he has changed. I believe I might be better off single. I regret sometimes getting married. If you knew then what you know now, would you have married him?
No.
Is that a thoughtful response or a reactive response?
I think it's a thoughtful response.
Really, because if you hadn't married him, you wouldn't have your daughter.
She's awesome.
So not marrying him would erase her from the world, and you still wouldn't marry him.
Oh, well, no, if it meant to keep my daughter, then yeah, I'll marry him.
Well, Ryan's journal excerpt, The Formula for Success, he said, I need to know that I am an important part of your life. When I hear things about how I failed to live up to your expectations, it lowers the spot that I see myself in your opinion. I need to feel that you are proud that I am your husband. I like when you tell me that you appreciate what I've done to get my degree and provide for the family instead of saying that I don't make enough money. I don't appreciate being belittled or humiliated in front of other people. I feel humiliated when I'm insulted in front of others. I need to know that you're loyal and committed, and I need to know that you're not self-sabotaging the relationship. Are you surprised at anything that he's writing here?
No.
Why is this so hard for you to do? Look him in the eye.
Because it's just like one thing after another.
Okay, you two stand up and face each other.
Be careful.
And just look each other in the eye for a minute. And don't say anything, just step a little closer. Don't say a word, just look each other in the eye. Don't look away. Why is this so hard for you to do? Look him in the eye.
Because it's just like one thing after another.
Okay, both of you put your hands behind your back and keep looking at each other. Okay, I'm going to ask you behind your back with your fingers to rate your relationship between 1 and 10. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. I want you to make your selection. In a minute, I'm going to say show it, but right now I just want you to make your choice. 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. When I count to 3, when I get to 3, I want you to both show it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you're 5 and you're 2. Ryan, I want you to tell her 5 reasons this relationship is not a 10.
Because I feel like you make selfish decisions and go out and do things on your own. I feel like you have been hurt in your life, and I feel like sometimes it seems like your mission is to hurt everybody else worse than you've been hurt.
Okay, 3.
I feel like you push me away because you're afraid of being vulnerable.
Okay, 4.
And I feel like you don't have morals or values that can survive and relish and grow in a relationship.
5. 5th reason your relationship is not a 10.
Because I feel like you don't have any emotional control.
Okay, now look him in the eye, Danielle. You rated your relationship a 2, so give him 8 reasons it's not a 10.
You filed for divorce. You made up lies about our daughter. You tried to have us not have her 50-50 and take away like major choices that I should have say in for her. You never like genuinely compliment me like you used to. There's no sex.
3 more.
Oh, you always put your parents ahead of me. Always. Always. And lately, you've been lying to me.
One more reason it's not a 10.
Neither of us puts each other first anymore.
Okay. All right, you guys sit down. Ryan wrote to me twice and said, we need somebody to step in and help. Well, I've stepped in and said this is so non-commonsensical that it has no chance if something doesn't dramatically change. I'm going to tell them what I mean by that, because they got into relationship rescue, but they never finished it. And there's an arc in that book, and they got part of the way. We'll be right back. Look, I don't care if you're living in a box under a bridge. You should not denigrate yourself as a woman, as a wife, as a mother by out sugar babying with men paying you money. You are better than that. That is beneath you. You're better than that. It is beneath you, and you shouldn't do that. Now, I understand what happened to you growing up, and I understand that it is not unusual for a victim of what you went through to define themselves physically. And you don't understand the dynamics of this, but I can tell you that it puts you in a tunnel vision where you don't understand all the dynamics of what's going on. You were a victim, and you were a victim at so many levels you don't even realize what you were a victim at. You were a victim in being violated, and you were a victim in not being protected. And no one has ever stopped and helped you to heal those wounds. And you need to let me bring you the resources to help you heal those wounds, to help you be a fully functioning woman that appreciates everything about you and not just what someone did to you. You deserve that, and I insist that you allow me to do that. And this situation needs a hero, and it ought to be you. It's time for you to step up, man up, and lead this situation. You don't go write a 25-item petition and try to figure out a way to take sole, full custody of this child away from this mother. What you need to do is make unification your middle name. You need to figure a way to put this family back together, and don't you dare do anything to try and take that child away from her mother. You need to put this back together. You need to earn her respect. She needs to earn your trust, and that's a matter of work. And I will get you the resources that you need to do this. You'll take this help, correct?
Yeah.
And I will get it, and I will get it now. And it's going to be very specialized help for you, because you have very specialized needs, and you deserve this help. Fair enough? Fair enough?
Absolutely.
No decisions for 90 days. All right? Okay? Okay? Take this help. You guys are going to turn this around.
I know.
All right. I want to thank all of my guests today. We'll see you next time.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
Her ex entered her mom's home.
I saw a shotgun. I said, "Why are you doing this?" I thought, okay, I'm dead.
He went to prison, but his family,
His mother is petitioning for grandparent rights.
isn't going anywhere.
I've never got an apology from her. She didn't do it. You're not normal.
How selfish are you picking a fight with her when your mother's trying to get access back to her grandson? Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Well, Anita says she will never forget the terrifying day her former son-in-law, Dylan, entered her home through an unlocked door with a loaded shotgun in hand, with his finger on the trigger, looking for her daughter, Alexa, and her baby grandson. Anita said it was the most frightening day of her entire life. It ended in a dramatic police chase. Take a look.
It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was the sound of the dog gate that alerted me. I noticed someone coming around the corner, and it was Dylan. I saw a shotgun in his hand with his finger on the trigger.
My mom immediately knew that something wasn't right.
I got into his face and I said, "What the Dylan?" There was a blank look in his eye the whole time. It's like he wasn't there.
I totally recognized that it was a dangerous situation.
I said, "Dylan, go put the gun away." And he said no. And then Dylan asked where my husband was. And I responded, "Why?" And he said, "Because I want to talk to all of you, and then you're going to watch me kill myself." I said, "That's not going to happen today, Dylan." And then Alexa came around the corner. The baby started crying, and Alexa screamed, "Oh my gosh, he has a gun." And then Dylan pushed her.
My mother 100% protected my son and I with her life.
I picked up my grandson, who was crying, and I said to Dylan, "We loved you. Why are you doing this?" And he said, "Well, she cheated on me." I was looking straight in his eyes the whole time, but I was also looking at that gun. I got him out the front door somehow, and I'm poking him with my fingernail in his chest. And I said, "Quit doing this." Then he cocked the gun. I thought, okay, I'm dead. I'm ready to go. At least I know my daughter's safe and my grandson is safe. And then he ran down the stairs and he got into his truck and he took off.
The cops were already on their way.
Dylan drove up here, drove to the end of this cul-de-sac and parked his truck and started smoking a cigarette. There were multiple police cars that confronted him.
They shot 14 times from what I remember, and one cop hit him.
One of them caught him in his shoulder and he slumped down.
He was arrested and taken to the hospital.
Well, Dylan was ultimately sentenced to 9 years in prison for numerous charges, including assault with a deadly weapon, burglary, evading police, and child endangerment. When Dylan went to prison, his mom, Sherry, was allowed to see her grandson, but now she claims Alexa has completely cut her off. Why? Because according to Alexa, Sherry refuses to accept her son's responsibility in the gun incident. Sherry is ready to take Alexa to court to petition for grandparents' rights. Take a look.
Dylan's mom, Sherry, made it seem that it was all my fault that Dylan had been shot. Like I pushed him over the edge.
3 months ago, Alexa severed my grandson's relationship with Dylan's side of the family.
I don't want my son to be around Sherry because I feel like she's going to sabotage a relationship between my son and I. Sherry is on a whole different page for me when it comes to parenting. She's told my son that his dad lives in the mountains and he has a house. I have told my son that his dad is in big boy timeout. I keep it short and simple so he doesn't get confused.
I do blame the family for what Dylan did. They knew that Dylan had problems. I think that Sherry is an enabler.
He is the one who decided to come to my mother's house with a loaded shotgun and threaten my son's life, my mother's life, and my life.
Sherry applied for grandparent rights. We will see how it goes. If I had my way, I would have nothing to do with these people.
Well, Anita, Alexa, I'm glad to meet both of you. I'm glad you're here. Anita, you full well believed you were going to die that day, true?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I was okay with it.
You were okay with it because you had drawn him away from your daughter and your grandson?
Yes.
And what was going through your head when you realized that he was in your home with a weapon?
Honestly, I thought that he was going to possibly kill my ex-boyfriend at the time, shoot me, and then shoot himself because I left him for somebody else.
Right. Did you see anything like this coming?
I didn't see anything coming with Dylan, but my mother definitely thought something was going to happen.
His mother claims that you caused him to snap, that the breakup, your conduct, caused him to snap. What do you say to that?
I say absolutely not. Dylan is his own individual person. Dylan chose to do what he did. He had 2 hours as he was driving to think about what he was doing, and he still chose to do what he did.
Yeah, so you're saying this wasn't an impulse, passion. This was premeditated, and that he had time to cool off. He had time to think. He had to be clear-headed enough to navigate traffic, get around, get there, and then he got in the house in a very stealthy way, correct?
Yeah, he walked up the stairs like he was just there. Hey guys, what's up? With a loaded shotgun in his hand and his finger was on the trigger.
You say that Sherry blames the incident on everybody but her son. So what do you mean by that? How is it not his responsibility what he did?
She thinks I don't know, maybe because of my actions that I'm the reason that he snapped in the first place.
Yeah.
However, he's been like that for his whole life, from the time I've known him.
All right, and how long had you known him?
Since we met in 7th grade, so about 2006, but we got to know each other more in high school, so I'd say about 2010.
All right, so you had known him a long time.
Before.
Was he volatile like this all along? Would he go off? Would he have rage problems? Would he do the kind of things that would be antecedent to this, that would lead up to this kind of thing?
We definitely, when we fought, there was one time I was pregnant and we got into a fight and he punched 2 holes in the wall and he tore the door off her, the hinges.
You weren't in favor of this union from the beginning, right?
Never. Absolutely not. I saw the writing on the wall.
Did you know when they got married?
No.
Why did you keep that from your mother?
I actually kept it from everyone.
Why?
We went and got married in Tahoe. I didn't tell anyone. I was at that point, I was 19 and I was naive.
And then when you got pregnant, you didn't know that either.
No, I did not.
Why not?
I didn't tell anyone. I was scared because I knew her reaction wasn't going to be good.
I always told her, if something happens, all you have to do is call me and say I'm coming home, because you know you can come home anytime. And she did do that.
Now, Sherry, his mother, is petitioning for grandparent rights.
Correct, yes.
And this conversation we're having here comes at a crucial time because I'm hoping that we can find some way to avoid the government getting involved in your family life here.
Yes.
You know, coming up, Alexa's former mother-in-law says she is furious. She hasn't seen her grandson for months, and Alexa is being brainwashed by Anita to keep her out of the picture. Well, we're going to meet her. We're going to talk about all of this when we come back.
Alexa knows she pushed Dylan over the edge. She knows she abused him mentally and physically. I said, you know, all this is your fault. And she said, you'll never see my grandson again, and hung up on me.
And later...
You weren't even involved with your daughter. You didn't like your daughter. So don't even try to lie either. That was an incident from Dr. Phil. You should be honest. She's not normal. You're not.
It enrages me that Sherry blames Alexa for her son, Dylan, coming into our home with a loaded shotgun with enough bullets to kill all of us. I think it's disgusting. I definitely think that this family should back off.
Alexa's mother-in-law, Sherry, says she tried to be civil, but Anita and Alexa aren't looking out for her grandson's needs, and now she has no choice but to take them to court.
Alexa cut me out of my grandson's life because I told her I thought she was to blame for what happened to Dylan. Today is my grandson's 5th birthday. This is the first time he hasn't been with us on his birthday. I want him to know I didn't forget about you. She knows she pushed Dylan over the edge. She knows she abused him mentally and physically. I said, you know, all this is your fault. And she said, you'll never see my grandson again, and hung up on me. That was the last time I talked to her. I was angry. But I was tired of walking on eggshells with her. I have seen signs that Alexa had been abusive to my grandson, and I've seen bruises on him. Who hurt you right there? Who did that?
Mama.
Why?
Because Mama hurt me.
I noticed a bruise on his cheekbone right here. And I said, did Mommy do that? And he said, yes, Mommy hurt me.
Mama snacking under my face.
He smacked you in the face?
Yeah.
Dylan spiraled out of control when Alexa cheated on him. Dylan kicked our bedroom door open, and then we had the shotgun by the bed and left with it. When Dylan got arrested, he was charged for trying to kill a police officer. And I said, what? He wasn't trying to kill a police officer. There's no way. He only had one leg out of the truck. He did not brandish a weapon. My son got 8 years in prison. I think his sentence was really unfair. I think I'm being punished for what my son did, and I don't think it's fair.
Okay, Sherry, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And
Thanks for having me.
I want to make it clear, you didn't show up at that house with a shotgun.
No.
No matter what the intent may or may not have been, you weren't the one that did that. So
exactly.
I'm not trying to paint you with that brush. But do you acknowledge that clear boundaries were crossed here?
Yes.
By your son when he came in that house?
Yes.
Uninvited?
Yes.
And he did have a loaded weapon.
Yes.
But you think that it's Alexa's fault that your son is in prison, right?
Yeah, well, it's partly her fault, not completely. He has to take responsibility. I think it's her fault how she mentally and physically abused him over the years. Mm-hmm. She said she doesn't. She says her, you know, her mom, you guys are liars. You lied about a lot of things just now. A lot of things. And it ain't right, Alexa, and you know it.
Okay. I actually did not lie, but thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, you did.
Because you're a pathological liar,
okay.
just like your son.
Just
Goodbye.
Like your son. And
Sit
that's
down.
why he's in prison, Sherry.
Okay. That's why he's in prison. Do you know how many felonies
he's in prison because
how many
you made him
felonies does he
depressed.
have? How many felonies does he have? One?
Yes.
Can you pull that up, please? We need to pull this up so she can see that he has 4 felonies and 1 misdemeanor.
And child endangerment.
My poor son's in prison. Oh,
child endangerment, that's right. Why do you beat your daughter all the time?
Oh,
she does not
yes, I beat my daughter all the time. Sure. My daughter doesn't even live in my house.
And she beats your grandson, and that's okay with you too.
Oh, no, he doesn't. And if she did, she would. I would turn her in because I'm a mother who practices tough love.
Okay,
that's why
sure
my
you do.
children aren't in
That's
prison.
why your daughter told me all over the years how crazy you are and how you beat her.
Well, thank God I'm crazy because I had to deal with your son that day.
Even
Stop.
there.
Okay, listen, I let everybody vent here for a second. I let everybody vent here for a second.
I'm here for, I want my grandson around us.
I've been doing this for 45 years. And I'm trained in forensic psychology, and I have worked hostage situations. Right. I've been in this very scenario. And I'm telling you, when you walk in there in an emotionally charged situation with 5 shots in a shotgun, and things start to melt down and you start to get confused, people start to die. Right. And I can show you headline after headline after headline after headline where estranged couples wind up in murder-suicide situations where the children are killed, the spouse is killed, and then suicide. That woman put herself in front of that barrel of that shotgun and walked him out that front door.
I heard a different story.
Well,
Alexa pushed him out.
Well,
no, Alexa did not push him out. No, she did not.
Well, that's what she told me.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. Somebody got him out that front door. But for the actions of these people in that house that day, your grandson might be dead. And you have to acknowledge that. And
thank God that didn't happen, because I wouldn't be able to live with myself either.
Coming up, Sherry's daughter, Dina, says her former sister-in-law, Alexa, was fine with her mom looking after her grandson. So what changed? Well, that's a good question. We'll talk about that next.
When the gun incident happened, Anita reported that Dylan was there to harm them. I don't think that was true. I think Anita saw an opportunity to get Dylan out of their lives, and she took it.
And later,
I heard with my own ears what he just said, and I'm sick.
His dad's a great father.
You guys need to so grow up. I am telling you.
I think Anita and Alexa are evil people, and I don't trust either one of them around my grandson, to tell you the truth, but there's nothing I could do about it.
I have mentioned to Alexa in the past that it would be best if she just severed her ties with that family, because I think that they're evil, and that's just my opinion. Sherry only thinks that her son is the victim, and that's it. Nobody else.
Sherry's daughter, Dina, agrees with her mom that her nephew is being dragged into the middle of this adult dispute.
Dylan and Alexa rushed into marriage. There were signs that Alexa was beating Dylan. I told Dylan, after finding out that she does get physical, divorce her before she ends up pregnant. I knew it wasn't going to be a stable environment to raise a child. When the gun incident happened, Anita reported that Dylan was there to harm them. I don't think that was true. I think Anita saw an opportunity to get Dylan out of their lives, and she took it. She called the police and said that Dylan was threatening them. They made the police approach aggressively. Dylan did not shoot his gun. He never pointed his gun at them either. I thought he was going to try suicide by cop. It's been about 4 months since I've seen my 5-year-old nephew. Alexa uses my nephew as a pawn. We're unfairly punished for the actions of my brother and have been off and on since it occurred.
Well, Dina, thank you for joining us. You say that it's wrong that Anita and Alexa are keeping your nephew from your side of the family. Tell me why you think that's happening.
Okay. First of all, let me address that not only is it embarrassing that you're lying about everything that you're saying.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. You weren't even involved with your daughter. You didn't like your daughter.
Right.
It was like a year ago that I went and got my nephew from her. She had scratch marks all over her body, and she told my mom it's because you attacked her. Don't. For real?
Okay. Yeah.
And Alexa, don't even try to lie either. Because if you want help from Dr. Phil, you should be honest.
That was an incident that happened in September of 2015.
No, it wasn't.
Because I have the photos. I have the photos.
Not this year.
Okay, but still, you're an adult. You're an adult getting attacked by your mother who claims she has your back.
That was 3 years ago.
She's over here claiming she's innocent and she's not this crazy broad.
There was an incident.
She's not normal.
You're not. I don't.
But you are.
Okay,
I am. I'm the most normal child out of my mom's family.
Thank God.
Thank God you are.
Stop.
You guys stop.
Alexa
Please.
has the floor for a minute.
Can we just all just like speak one at a time?
Yeah, I know how to run this. Thank you. You have the floor. Go ahead. Say what you want to say.
There was an incident that happened, I think it was like June, July, I don't remember, honestly. My son had said, I don't like you. It upset her. She has things from the past.
He's 4 years old, people. Can you let her speak, please? It's her turn.
And it had upset her, yes. So
she's just making you look like a lunatic. Speak, please.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yes.
So, anyhow.
You guys thought you were going to come out here and play us.
Can you please be quiet?
No.
Oh, my God.
No.
She doesn't shut up.
Eyes. I don't like it.
All right, stop. Now, listen, let me tell you guys, I'm all about unification of families, not about fragmentation of families. But if you guys want to come in here and turn this into a yell fest and just totally disrespect the process, then you're going to derail all of that. Why did you cut off the access to your son?
My son had come home and told me that his dad lives in the mountains and he has a house and he wanted to go see him. And I said, well, baby, he's in big boy timeout. That's what I've always told him. I would never say, like, oh, he's in jail, he's in prison, say anything bad about him. I just say, hey, he's in big boy timeout. He needs to be a big boy. Once he's out, then you guys are welcome to have a relationship and see each other. And he just says, okay. I keep it short and simple. I've gotten that advice from my therapist.
And you've had a different strategy, a different story.
Right.
All right. Coming up, Sherry says she's seen bruises on her grandson and she's suspicious of Alexa. We're going to find out if these are legitimate concerns or if we're starting to get hypersensitive and sling allegations, which is a very dangerous thing to do in this situation. We'll be right back.
My nephew is saying that he's getting hit in the face.
He fell out of a shopping cart. You told us that too, but yes, I was there.
Alexa was a party girl. She likes to drink a lot when she's out. I have video that somebody sent me of her being obnoxious, wild, cussing, and I'm just wondering what's going on with my grandson. Where is he when she's partying all the time? I mean, what kind of mother does that?
Here's my question for you. Are you legitimately concerned for the well-being of your grandson being raised by his biological mother to the point that you fear for his safety and therefore you think it's actionable and he should be removed from that home?
I thought about it.
If you do think that and you don't report it, then that's negligence on your part,
right?
As a grandparent. If you don't think it and you're just using it as ammunition to try and fortify your position and weaken hers, that is very easy to determine, and you can wind up not only having your rights limited but terminated.
Wait, we were never going to accuse her of being any type of thing in court.
She just did on videotape on national television.
We have reason to believe that you possibly do because that's what you were taught from your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. As my nephew got older, we were going to, if it was a physical situation and he's old enough to be literally saying, my mom hits me, my mom hurts me, then yeah, we're going to call authorities. But he's little.
Well,
we don't
let's
want to
take
just
a look
assume
at
these
how
things and
Sherry
take them away
tries
from her.
to investigate her grandson's bruise.
How'd you get the boo-boo on your face?
Because I got hurt.
How'd you get hurt?
I don't know.
How did it happen?
Let's see.
Who hurt you right there? Who did that?
Mama.
Why?
Because Mama hurt me.
That's not nice. I don't want Mama hurting you.
Mama snacking under my face.
She smacked you in the face?
Yeah.
You don't let Mama do that. You tell your grandma and you tell Nana, okay?
Okay.
I don't like that.
I don't like that.
I protect you, okay?
Okay.
Give me kisses. I love you.
I love you.
I guarantee you, if Alexa, and I'll tell both of you right now, if either one of my children ever beat their children, I would be the first person, the very first person to turn them in.
Sure. So why do you do it to your own then?
She doesn't even live in my house.
Because you physically attacked her all the time. You guys always argued. I wouldn't live in your house either.
You know when we were arguing? After this whole incident happened, and Alexa was extremely confused.
My nephew is saying that he's getting hit in his face.
He fell out of a shopping cart.
He Carl out of a shopping cart.
You told us that too, but
yes,
you didn't believe it.
I was there.
I
was there.
You said you had your back turned and you really didn't know.
I was there when it happened.
Because she is physical with her adult daughter.
Yes.
This is what she's
all the
taught.
time.
Who knows how her childhood was? What I did hear one time, it was last Christmas. My nephew slapped her in her face, which he did a lot, and she would laugh in front of us like, oh, it's so funny. She put him in a timeout and she asked him, why did you hit Mom in the face? And he said, because you hit me in mine. And she manipulated his words like I didn't hear what he said. And she said, no, you can't just hit me because you want to. And I was disgusted. And I went in the kitchen and I told my mom. She just manipulated what I heard with my own ears, what he just said, and I'm sick. I don't know what to do. But he's a little boy. I don't want to take him away from his mom.
And you'll never will.
I don't want to.
And
I need her to get it together so she can be a good mother because he doesn't have his dad.
Because his dad's a great father.
Look, if I hear another sarcastic, smart-ass remark, I'm telling you, you guys need to so grow up. I am telling you. Look, coming up, Sherry says that she didn't want to get the courts involved, but she's already tried being civil. When we come back, I'm going to talk about what I think needs to happen, and it's going to be in the way of a warning. We'll be right back.
Alexa's trying to change my nephew's last name to whatever hers is at the moment. She's trying to take Dylan's last name away from my nephew. It's disgusting. You already don't let him see him. Then you're going to try to take away his last name? It's vindictive. It's disrespectful. This is another example of her putting my nephew in the middle of adult issues.
Now, I want to say to the four of you that, you know, there's a child in the middle here. And whatever transgressions the four of you do, the child picks up the tab for that. The child pays the price for that. Mm-hmm. And there are some things that I say with great confidence, and what happens in the litigation arena is one of those things I say with great confidence, because that's what I've spent most of my professional career doing. I know the courthouse, I know the litigation arena, and I know judges, and I know family court judges. And this side has enough vulnerability in the history of what's going on that you are vulnerable to analysis and having your inventory taken in a way that you won't like. This side of the family comes into the situation with a huge bias against you before you start because of Dylan's actions and because you are telling a different story than the biological mother of this child. Whether you like it or whether you don't, the biological parent controls the situation. If the biological parent says big boy timeout and that's the story, then grandparents have to adhere to that story. If they are not consistent with the biological parent's reasonable and therapeutically supported approach, then you clearly are in violation with a therapeutically supported parenting plan, and you will be turned away. Just that simple. It's not sort of, it's not kind of, it's not maybe.
The way she put, you know, time out, that's fine. She didn't like what I said, that she said, well, you don't need to tell my son Daddy's at work. I'm not going to tell a 4-year-old Daddy's in prison. He's 4 years old.
Sherry, don't talk about it at all. Just, I know he's your son, and I understand you love him.
He asked me.
No,
he asked
but
me.
He's never
Where's
asked
my daddy?
me. He's never asked me.
Why? What is scary to do with his dad, though? Because you weren't taking him to see his dad. So why would he ask you?
I don't know, but I don't talk about it.
But you know, it's not for you to give her advice on what she should do or not do, because you don't know what she should do or not do.
But may I say something? I don't want her to say that he's at work, because he's not at work. Say big boy. No, okay, I understand that he's in the fire camp, but that's not a real job. He's doing a job because he's in prison and he has to. He's working. He is in big boy timeout. You can't say he's at work, because that's not a job. He's not a correctional officer, Sherry.
Okay, but wait.
He is in
big
prison.
Boy timeout. He's going to start thinking, okay, well, I should do things to be in timeout too, because that's what my dad's doing.
I've never got an apology from her.
I tried to.
It's not her job. You need to let it go.
Oh, do I need to let it
go? Under California law, to give grandparent reasonable visitation with a grandchild, the court has to find a pre-existing relationship between grandparent and grandchild that has engendered a bond where visitation is in the best interest of the grandchild. Now, you need to be concerned about the second part of that sentence, where it is in the best interest of the grandchild. If you are not being consistent with a therapeutically supported, has been to a therapist, and the decision has been made, this is the story to be told, and you are not consistent with that, then you are creating confusion on the part of the child, and the court will determine that that is not in the best interest of the child, and you are out on point one.
My mom didn't argue with her about not saying that. My mom argued with her because she said, my son's not a bad person, and she said, yes, he is. He is a bad person. My mom said, no, he's not. That's when she said, you'll never see your grandson again.
I did.
It wasn't because my mom was arguing with her, I'm not going to say that. She was saying, he's not a bad person, though. And she didn't like that. That's where the argument came from. She's not saying that she won't say what Alexa wants to say. If a therapist says that's what you should say, then okay.
Number two, balance the visitation with parents' rights to make decisions. Parents' rights to make decisions about their child. Now, if you put the child's interest ahead of your own, and you have a therapist, they will tell you that you should work to find a way to involve these people in your son's life.
Yes, that's
and
true.
if they're not telling you that, then you need to find somebody that is. Because any therapist that is worth their salt should be telling you that you should be working to find a strategy, find a reason, find a way to involve these people in your son's life. And you're going to have to come up with a set of talking points that you consistently share with the child, and then you're going to have the emotional integrity to be consistent with that. And if you're not, it will become vividly transparent in a short period of time, and if you violate that, then you will forfeit your rights to be with that child. You don't need to go to court. You don't need to get the government invited here. What you need to do is sit down with a family therapist that will come up with, here are the parameters, here's how this child should be dealt with in this regard, and come up with a plan that everybody can be comfortable with, excited about, and embrace.
That would be
listen,
better.
These two did not want Dylan to do what he did. It broke their hearts. For the rest of their life, it will break their hearts. You didn't want him to do.
I've never got an apology from her.
I tried to do it at court, and you totally ignored me. Don't you remember that day?
No,
Okay.
you never apologized.
I tried to.
It's not her job. She didn't do it. It's not my job either, but I apologize to you. My mom doesn't have to do anything. She's not Dylan. You need to let it go.
Do I need to let it go? Really? Oh,
We'll be
sure.
right
I
back.
need to let it go. You do.
Well, I'm here talking to myself. Anita, Alexa, Sherry, and Dina are here
Yeah.
talking to each other. You make these declarations that you don't even think he went in the house. You don't have the first clue about what happened.
I don't, but I spoke
Okay,
to
then
her
don't make
afterward.
allegations that you can't support. We're here supposedly to get your mother to have access back to her grandchild.
Yeah.
And you're picking a fight with her? You're picking a fight with her? How selfish are you?
I'm not selfish. I'm
Oh,
sticking
hell,
up
you're
for what
not.
went
You're
on.
here picking
I
a fight with
spoke to
her
Alexa
when your
afterward.
mother's
That's what she
trying to
told
get
me.
access back to her grandson, and you want to run your agenda picking a fight with her.
I'm not picking a fight. I'm sticking up for what she's talking about.
You don't know the first thing about what happened. So how do you know?
I wasn't there, but I spoke to her afterward, and I'm going off of what she said
Well,
to me.
you know what? She was there, and she was there. You weren't there.
I
Go
can
ahead.
go.
You got the floor. Go ahead.
I can leave.
No, do whatever you want to do.
I'd rather get to see my nephew.
Well, then stop talking. Because I'm sure trying to set that up for you.
Thank you.
You're traumatized by this whole thing,
Absolutely.
and you are really angry about this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And I get that, and you need help with that, and I'm going to get you that help.
Thank you.
Because I've looked down the barrel of a shotgun, and it looks about that big around. And I understand that that doesn't go away very easily.
No, it does not.
I wouldn't expect it to.
I
Oh,
told
really?
no, talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me. I get that. I really get that, and I want to get you help with that.
Thank you.
And I mean, really, professional help. You deserve that, and I want you to have that.
Thank you.
When something like this happens, it happens to everybody. It didn't just happen to Dylan. It didn't just happen to them. It happened to y'all too. It disrupts your whole family. I want to get y'all a family counselor mediator that will sit down and work out a way where you guys can agree, just in this regard, this is what we're going to do concerning how we talk about this with the grandson.
Thank you.
And because I want nothing more than for him to clamber up in your lap and put his arms around your neck.
I miss him.
And it's not easy being a single mother, and I want to give you help and support with this. You know, you say you have a therapist now. If that therapist is significant and adequate for you, then fine. If you need other resources, then I'll make those available to you. I want to support this situation. You know, court is where you go to dispute.
Yes.
What I'm talking about is where you go to come together and love this little boy 360 degrees. You all love this little boy.
Of course, yeah.
Let that be a common ground that you share. That's all I'm saying. I want to thank all of my guests today. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. Tell us what you think on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you next time.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
Stephen and I got married in a prison visiting room. He shot 4 people. He made a mistake.
He was in for violent crimes. Does he love you?
His soul is dead and his heart is black. That's what he says.
If he says, we're going to rob an armored car today.
We're robbing an armored car. I would drive off a cliff with this man.
So you're ride or die.
Ride or die.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today's going to be a changing day in your life.
5,
I am not giving up on you. You know, Charles Manson once bragged from prison that all women want him. And he's not the only notorious criminal with a ton of female groupies. The Menendez brothers, Scott Peterson, accused Parkland shooter Nicholas Cruz, and most recently, convicted murderer Chris Watts have received female fan mail and even marriage proposals from women around the world. Take a look.
His crimes were unspeakable, the murders of his pregnant wife and 2 little daughters. Yet 33-year-old Chris Watts is actually receiving love letters.
Stacks of love letters are now piling up at the Broward County Jail.
It may be hard to believe and even harder to stomach, but teenage girls are sending letters to the suspected mass murderer, Nicholas Cruz.
Stephen Avery has become the world's strangest sex symbol now. He's receiving up to 40 letters a week in prison from women lining up to be his next wife.
Boston Marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and wife killer Scott Peterson all received love letters from women. Now Chris Watts joins that notorious list.
You know, it seems strange, but it does happen. And our guests today, Alex and Susie, say they both have fallen for convicts behind bars, and they know what they've done. Susie even married her prison pen pal. And we'll talk to her in a bit, but first, Alex's sister Jenna is desperate to help her sister, who is speaking with at least 7 convicted felons. But that's not all she's doing. Jenna said Alex is going broke trying to buy the love of these dangerous men. Take a look.
3 years ago, my sister started dating convicted felons.
I do date bad boys. Currently, I'm dating 7 convicted felons.
These prisoners are violent.
I know all of their crimes. Heroin distribution, cocaine distribution, kidnapping. One of them chopped someone's fingers off with a machete, and attempted murder. It doesn't bother me that they're violent offenders.
My sister meets these guys on websites that connect prisoners to women.
I like the Southern Hispanic, tatted up, bald-headed gang members. I like their looks, their personalities, and the rules that they follow. I've sent money to every man that I'm dating that's in prison. It's once or twice per week, per person. It's kind of a different schedule with each one depending on if they're federal or state custody. I've probably sent a total of close to $50,000 in 9 years.
She slowly is going into debt. They'll have food before she can pay her light bill. Alex sends the prisoners money to buy food, tablets, shoes, cologne, watches, clothes.
What you doing? I'm at the mall. What are you doing?
Demands on my time and resources are extreme.
The past couple days, I've gotten one of them shoes and cologne, and I am running errands for another one.
There's 3 men that I do actually love. The ones that I tell that I love, they don't know that I talk to other men. Oh, they will find out, yes. The Dr. Phil show is very popular in prison.
The guy I'm talking to in Ohio is calling right now. Hello?
I take 4 to 5 phone calls per day from prisoners. I send and receive about 25 to 50 emails per day. Once I've established a relationship with them, I do feel obligated to continue it.
I drove from Arizona to California to see one of the men that just got out of prison. That's the definition of ride or die, and I'm definitely ride or die for that one.
I don't ever date in the real world. I've not been on a date in 7 to 8 years. I don't know how to talk to men or have normal relationships.
I'm very worried that they could hurt my sister, get her on drugs, kill her, or even take all of her money and she's homeless on the streets.
Well, Jenna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Your sister Alex is supposed to be sitting right there.
Yeah.
But she's not. Why not?
She's a little nervous.
Nervous? Well, I understand that. I'm a nice guy. And she has some questions, so I don't know, maybe she'll come out, maybe she won't. Are you concerned that she is engaging with, interacting with these known criminals? That bothers you?
Yes.
I've kind of done a little bit of background on them, and she has 7 that she's interacting with. One, Jay, he's out, right? And he was in for counterfeiting, drug transport, and kidnapping. Edgar is in for attempted murder, Faustino, 2 carjackings. Carlos, felony with a gun and theft. Oscar, transporting coke. Mike, cut somebody's finger off with a machete. Eric, heroin, theft, receiving stolen property. Now, you say that she gives these men how much money a month?
Probably maybe $100 to $200 a month.
Each?
Yes, maybe less than that, but.
Okay, but $500-600 a month she's shipping off to these guys.
Yes.
And can she afford that?
I don't meddle in too much in her bills, but I think she might choose their well-being over her well-being.
Okay. Why do you think she's pursuing relationships with these individuals instead of somebody that lives down on the corner, or somebody she might meet at church, or somebody that, you know,
well,
just...
when I ask her, because I wonder the same thing, she says, I don't have to see them. You know, I keep them at arm's length distance. But then she did meet one of them, and then it ended badly, but now it's doing well. And she did go on a couple dates. They all ended badly. And I tell her, you know, there's plenty of fish in the sea. We've all had bad dates.
Let's ask her. Would Alex like to come out? I'd love to talk to her if she would. Oh, she does? Okay. Alex, come on out if you would. Hey, good to meet you. Have a seat.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I totally understand being nervous. I mean, you're on television, and but I'm a charming guy. So. But take a minute and look around. I mean, it's a different...
I don't want to look around.
You don't want to look around? All right, that's okay. How did you choose to do this instead of maybe having a long-distance relationship overseas or something? How did you choose prisoners?
9 years ago, I met one.
Right.
And he kind of just started all this.
Yeah. Do you ever go see them?
No.
So it's all pen pal?
Mm-hmm. It's all pen pal.
But do you talk to them on the phone?
Yes.
Oh, so you do get to talk to them on the phone?
Yeah.
What's the rule on that? You get to talk to them how often?
Whenever, some of them can call all the time.
Oh.
Some of them are on 23 out of 24-hour lockdown, so they can call periodically.
Okay. We're talking about kidnapping, attempted murder, carjacking, machetes. We're talking about some bad dudes here. Mm-hmm. Does it bother you that they've committed crimes of violence against other people?
Coming up.
You sent him a fair amount of money over 9 years.
Close to $50,000.
And later, are you concerned that he might commit a crime when you're with him?
My sister Alex has sent semi-nude photos to men in prison.
I have sent photos of myself in bra and underwear to a prisoner. He asked, so I sent them.
Who else is seeing them? I think these men are even passing these photos around.
So I don't worry about him doing that.
I'm very embarrassed. Who knows what pictures she sent of the family, of me. This could potentially put my life at risk, too.
Does it bother you that they've committed crimes of violence against other people?
No, I have a no judgment policy, so I'm a messed up person as well, so I don't judge anybody.
Yeah. You figure they've made bad decisions and you've made bad decisions in your life.
Yes.
If they got out, would you necessarily want to pursue a relationship with any or all of them?
A few of them, maybe, but one of them's back in the picture that's out right now, so.
And you were with him this week?
I was with him, yeah.
And how does that feel? You had a relationship for how long while he was in prison?
We were on and off for 9 years.
9 years?
Yeah.
How much did you think you got to know him during that 9 years?
I know him like the back of my hand.
And once he was out, how much did that fit what you thought he was going to be like when he got out?
It did change, but I kind of knew it would. So I kind of always, my sister says no expectations, no disappointments.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you think he's going to be a certain way. Like I've talked to people before that I only knew over the phone or something in business or whatever, and I met them and they were like totally different than I thought they were going to be or the same. How was it with you for him? Was he what you anticipated or completely different?
Half and half.
Yeah.
Half and half.
So some things were different.
Yes.
Did he show you the respect and attention and all that you would want a man to show you?
He did, but he was also showing that to someone else. So when I went through the phone records, that's what led me to
so
my friend.
when we were just talking about that, do you think he was talking to someone else while he was in prison?
No, because he was in federal prison and the minutes are monitored, and my crazy self was monitoring our minutes. So every time he would call, I'd log it to track our minutes.
Okay. And you sent him a fair amount of money over 9 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Close to $50,000.
$50,000. Okay. And do you regret that at all?
No, I don't have a lot of regrets in life.
Okay. So, I mean, when I say regret, now that he's out and you know him and you know that there is somebody else involved, would you like to have that 50 grand back?
No.
Not even a little bit?
No. Just like you don't loan money and expect it back. You just, I don't ever loan.
I do.
Oh, no.
I mean, you give somebody something, that's one thing. If I give them money, that's one thing. But if I loan it to them, I damn sure want it back. I'll keep their kid till I get it. No, so that was a gift, so you gave it with no strings.
Correct.
So you're okay with that. And you're giving some money now to prisoners.
Correct. Nothing like I do for him.
Right. So you took the big plunge with him. You're not going to do that again.
Never.
Okay. Well, we got to take a break. Coming up, Alex says she knows that she could well be destroying her life with her prisoner obsession because it's crowding out other relationships that she could be pursuing, and the clock is ticking on life, right? I mean, if you spend a year talking to people behind bars, that's a year you didn't spend nurturing a relationship with someone that you could have been going to the movies with or whatever. We'll talk about that next, and if that's something that she really wants to change. We'll be right back.
Coming up.
You have a daughter that you placed for an open adoption, right?
Yes.
Now that she's going to move in and live with this man, what do you do about visitation?
There will not be any visitation.
Out of sight, out of mind.
My sister's self-esteem is horrible.
The reason I like dating prisoners is because you never have to see them. I used to be a lot bigger and I've lost a lot of weight, but I still don't have that confidence.
My sister has always been attracted to men that have been beneath her. She has no self-worth, and she's looking for any happiness with these prisoners.
Well, Alex says she's jeopardized her life for these men, but she can't abandon these prison loves. She does feel a commitment to them. And her sister Jenna says Alex's obsession is really all-consuming. And what do you mean by that? You think she's pushing other stuff out of her life in favor of them?
We get in the car, and it's just, let me email them. Well, why don't we, wait so we don't get into an accident? Well, they only have certain times on the emails. Then when we go to my house, she comes over every day, and then she sits and takes phone calls. We'll eat dinner, and then she'll leave.
So you think it's actually affecting her relationship with you?
A little bit, yes.
Why 6 or 7? Are you currently looking to add?
No. So the one that's out, we'll be living together, so everyone else is going away. He will take precedence over everyone else.
Oh, you're going to live with this person? He was in for what crimes? Were they violent crimes?
Yeah.
Did he go through any experiences that would cause you to believe that he's not likely to do that again?
He'll go back to prison. It's a pattern for him.
So you think you'll be with him for a period of time and then he'll go back in?
And then I'll just resume my prison wife status with him.
Why is that okay with you?
He's the love of my life.
Does he love you?
In his own little twisted way, as much as he can love me. His soul is dead and his heart is black. That's what he says. But yes, I'm very special to him.
His soul is dead and his heart is black, and you're special to him. Are you concerned that he might commit a crime when you're with him?
Yes. And I wouldn't exactly say no.
I would drive off a cliff with this man.
So you're ride or die?
Ride or die.
What concerns me for you is that. One, it really smacks of codependency. And two, it tells me that you don't value yourself enough or love yourself enough where you would say, hell no, you're not going to do that, because, as you know, certain laws in certain states for certain crimes, if a capital crime is committed, if he takes a gun and he kills someone during the commission of a crime, and you're even in the car,
I'm going to jail for life.
Then you go down the same way he does.
9 years ago, he asked me for unconditional love. I've given him unconditional love.
And what did he give you?
That's what I say. What
headaches?
I mean, what did you get back? If a man loves a woman, he would never put her in jeopardy.
Correct. I'm aware of that. But it's different because he's always told me that he'll always keep me out of harm's way. But if you're going, I'm going. We going. And that's how I feel. And that's some of the stuff we talked about last night. If you're jumping, I'm jumping.
So if he says, okay, I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck for this crummy 9-to-5 job, we're going to rob an armored car today, you're loading up and going.
I'm going to talk to him, but if we're robbing an armored car, we're robbing an armored car.
There's been a lot of research done about why women do get involved with prisoners. One is they want to share in the infamy and the intrigue. Second is to become a fellow criminal with this noble bad boy. You know, here I've got this bad boy out there, and I'm going to join. I'm going to go with him and become part of this. It's going to be a team. We're going to be criminals together. Almost always, they've had an abusive father, and they define love as abuse.
Yeah, not my case.
Pardon me?
No. I wouldn't say abuse, but I would say, was he there in the right aspects? Not at all.
My dad threw money at me. That's how my dad loved me. Here's a check. Go have fun. Get out of my house.
And the relationship is safe and distant, which you said. The inmate is romanticized as a mysterious power figure. You know, if you fit one of those things, it's a problem, and you fit 3 or 4 of them. Well, coming up, we're going to add someone to this conversation. Susie has devoted her life to a man serving 43 years behind bars. So what did he do? We're going to find out when we come back, add to this conversation, and see if these two women maybe have some wisdom to share with each other, because they're kind of doing the same thing. We'll be right back.
Stephen and I got married in a prison visiting room. So far, Stephen and I have had 3 wonderful conjugal visits. Have I told you yet how much I love you? Let's kiss. Mwah.
Well, Alex is not alone in loving an outlaw. There are more women that do this than you would think. One of those is Susie. She found her criminal love online and even married him. Take a look.
I met Stephen on a pen pal site called goodprisoners.com, and it all kind of started from there.
This call will be recorded and monitored.
Have I told you yet how much I love you?
Yes, you did, and I love you too.
Let's kiss. Mwah.
Mwah.
On his prison profile, it states his criminal history, 1st-degree assault, and his sentence is 43 years. He was 20 years old at a party under the influence, and he shot 4 guys with a shotgun. Nobody died. He made a mistake, and he regrets it, and he is remorseful. We finally met after about a year of writing. I had never been inside a prison before. I knew that I loved him the very first time I met him. Stephen and I got married in a prison visiting room. We even got to dance, and it was real special. So far, Stephen and I have had 3 wonderful conjugal visits. Stephen and I have talked about having kids, and we've decided that we want to wait. People asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up, I always said I wanted to be a mom. We're putting that on hold just because of the situation. If Steven gets out on his release date, he'll be 58 years old. It is kind of old to be starting a family. It can be difficult being married to someone in prison. I do get lonely. I'm thinking of you, and you are in my heart, as always, snuggled up in there.
I'm thinking of you as well.
I do sometimes dream of having more of a conventional marriage. I hope to one day have that with Steven when he gets out of prison.
Well, Susie's mom, Penny, was completely in the dark about Susie's nuptials until after the fact.
When I learned that Susie had married a man in prison, I was shocked. This is not what I expected Susie to grow up and do. I do not approve of this marriage. I can't see it's doing anything but tear Susie down. I don't know the extent of Steven's crime, why he's in prison. I've met Steven in prison, and he seemed nice, but he also seemed like he was telling me everything I wanted to hear. I feel like Steven was manipulating me. Steven has the personality of a wife beater. He goes into rages on the phone, and Steven sometimes goes months without calling or getting in touch with her because he's just giving her the silent treatment, and that's very hurtful. I wouldn't like Susie to get pregnant. I don't think prison is any place for a child. I have told Susie she should get divorced, and she agreed. And I paid for the proceedings. She had papers served to him, and he just wrote on it, return to sender. Susie is setting herself up for a very lonely existence. I feel like it's a failed marriage between Susie and Steven. It's going nowhere.
Okay, thank you two for being here. You've been listening to everything we've been talking about so far, right?
Yes.
And you're kind of concerned for your daughter like Jenny is for her sister. Mm-hmm. You were listening to the things that Alex had to say. Why a prisoner?
It's a difficult situation, and I didn't plan on it. I was initially going to have a pen pal to a man overseas, in Iraq, and then all of a sudden I saw a prison pen pal ad on the side, and that's what led me to that. I clicked over. Total opposite things, but...
Right. And how long did you two go back and forth before you got married?
We wrote back and forth about a year and a half before we actually said I do.
Uh-huh. How long were you married before you knew it?
Probably 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
When she let me know what was going on.
What'd you think when you found out?
I was speechless. I was so shocked.
Are you concerned at all that your life is going to go by for 35 more years or whatever it is before he has a release date, and all the things that a husband and wife share together, the experiences, children, having dinner together every night, watching kids grow up, going to their baseball or soccer games, all of those things are just written off for you?
Of course. It's difficult to think of that.
You were listening to the tape, right? And you heard that she's having conjugal visits. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
It worries me that she might have a baby, might be pregnant, and raise this baby to know that her father in prison, and that the child might think that that's the norm when it's not.
Coming up, what does Steven have to say about all this? He'll be joining us by phone when we come back. Steven's actually on the phone.
Is he? Can you hear us right now?
He can. Have you been involved with any other women since you've been in? Steven's actually on the phone.
Is he?
Yeah.
Can you hear us right now?
He can. Joining us on the phone is Susie's husband of 5 years, Steven. He shot 4 people at a party, is currently serving 43 years in prison for 4 counts of first-degree assault. Steven, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Thank you so much for joining us. I understand you have a limited amount of time, so we'll, of course, respect that. You've been listening to a little bit of this, I know. How do you think this is going to work long term? How much more time do you have to spend?
I have approximately 12 years left.
What's the likelihood that you'll get out on that date?
Not very good. I believe I'll be out in less than 5.
So less than 12 years, so you think you'll be out sooner?
Yes.
How do you get along with Susie right now while you're in and she's out? How do you two get along?
90% of the time, we get along excellent. It's just when certain triggers come into the marriage, I don't know how to cope with them, so I just withdraw.
Her mother, Penny, is concerned that you are, in her terms, really mean to her daughter at times.
I can definitely understand the perspective, because when I go weeks without calling her, I understand that that can be considered emotional abuse, and I wasn't aware of that.
Are you involved with any other women at this time?
No, I'm not.
Have you been since you've been in?
Since I've been in, yes, but not since Susie and I have been married.
Mm-hmm. Have you threatened her with that?
I have.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that when he threatens you with that?
It's heartbreaking.
You heard me talking to Alex, and she said she's a ride or die girl.
Not me.
That
Not in that aspect. Not to the extent that she mentioned earlier. I would not support that. No.
Right.
No. Dr. Phil, if I may just say, yeah, I would never put her through that. And she's been through so much just getting involved with an incarcerated man. She is not your stereotypical woman that gets involved with these type of relationships. Throughout my 25 years of incarceration, I've seen many of them, as you know and as you've documented. And there's so many contributing factors to our relationship that shatters the typical stereotype. And when we got to our lowest point where we were considering a divorce and Penny was willing to pay for it, that's when we just really decided, because I told her, look, if you want to move on, I support that. I'm always going to love you for what you've given me in prison. And she didn't want that. We committed till death do us apart.
I'm very mindful of your time. I don't want them to cut us off mid-sentence here.
Dr. Phil, we got plenty of time. I was sentenced to 43 years.
Yeah. But I know what it's like to hear a dial tone. What has happened? What have you learned? What has changed that would cause me or someone like me that's trained in forensic psychology to predict that you're not going to pick up a shotgun and shoot 4 people again?
Dr. Phil, you're such an educated man and well-versed in all these things that you can just look at my actions, my characters, the way I conduct myself, the way I treat my wife, the way I treat other people. Now, I know that you're focusing on the negative aspects of our relationship, but if you focus on the positive aspects of our relationship, I think that right there will speak in volumes. Because I can sit here and give you all the right answers. But I would encourage you to look at the tangible truth that lies within my actions over the last decade as I transformed my mind and changed my behavior in a sincere way where I treat everybody with dignity and respect.
Where do Susie and Alex go from here? I'm going to tell them what I think right after the break.
Sometimes during difficult moments, Steve and I struggle with conversations. I do get a feeling inside my heart that he might be using me. And it's painful to even just speak of. I still have that fear that when things don't go his way, he's just gonna call it quits with me and move on. And he's threatened that before.
Susie says that despite all the challenges of having a prisoner husband, she always knew in her heart she would marry Stephen. Alex, too, is involved with prisoners and is moving to California, intending to live with a man that she says, no doubt in her mind, will go back to prison sooner or later, because that's just who he is. You know, both of you have made the decision that you're willing to make a huge sacrifice of your lives by engaging with someone that has got a very, very questionable history, and you've given up a lot of companionship because they were locked up. My question for you is, Stephen has said he thinks the waiting room is an okay place for children, that would be okay.
It's the only prison visiting room I've seen, and it's big and light, and it's like a school cafeteria, kind of.
But it's not, it's a prison.
I know. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, and that he wants you to make him a millionaire.
That's true. He has high expectations, and he's very ambitious, and he has dreams.
But he wants you to make him a millionaire.
He does. He wants me to help. Yeah.
He has ambitions for you to make him a millionaire. How do you feel about that?
It's difficult sometimes, but I don't want to be a wife who... I want to be a wife who supports his dreams.
Right.
And helps where I can. And he needs help from the outside.
Right.
So...
And you have a daughter, correct, that you placed for adoption earlier in life, but it's an open adoption, right?
Yes.
And the woman that adopted your child is Judy.
Yeah.
And Judy, where are you? You're right here. You agreed to an open adoption, and you've known Alex for years, right? So you're concerned with her dating situation, right?
Absolutely.
And does this inform your decisions about visitation and
Absolutely.
access to your daughter? Does this really concern you?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So will that limit access and increase monitoring and all when there is?
It just won't happen.
Now that she's going to move in and live with this man, what do you do? What do you do about visitation? What do you do about her access?
There will not be any visitation.
It's just a high-risk situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So are you prepared to deal with that sacrifice?
Out of sight, out of mind. That's how it's been.
Do you and Stephen plan to get pregnant while he's in prison? Are you going to do that?
We've discussed it, and we want to wait.
You both date prisoners. Why do you
I
think...
just dated one prisoner.
Oh, well, you're married to a prisoner. You're married to a prisoner. She's getting ready to move in with a prisoner. You know there are problems you're going to have to work out. And he says as he gets closer to release time, that there can be therapeutic resources involved. Can you be part of those therapeutic resources?
I hope so. I would like to be.
I mean, if that's possible, would you do that? Would you
For sure.
Would you work on that?
Yes.
Because you didn't do that before you got married, but you can do it before he is released, right?
Yeah.
And Stephen, you're back on the phone?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible that you two can participate in some marital work while you're in prison? If I provided the two of you with a protocol that you two could work on together while you were in prison, would you do that together?
I would absolutely love that, Dr. Phil.
Because I can do that. I can provide you with a protocol the two of you can do together from different locations while you're in prison. And it would be very, very helpful, and I think would open both of your eyes as to whether or not this have a real chance going forward. And if you do everything in it, it will cause you to have a much better chance of making this if you're going to make it.
I would love to do that.
Thank you.
All right, Stephen, I'm going to do that. And Alex, do you think that it's possible that your self-esteem, your self-worth is distorted in your view to the point that you're making bad decisions?
Oh, absolutely.
And do you think that if you got help with that to where you valued yourself more, that it might change some of the decisions you made?
I don't know. I don't. I'm a very messed up person.
But are you willing to try? Are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
If I got you some professional help, where you were able to really focus just on you, not on the relationship. I don't want to get you couples therapy.
Right.
I want to get you where you can selfishly focus on you, how you value yourself, how you view your worth. You would do that.
Yeah, I would try it. I would give it a go.
Okay.
I'm a very twisted person, Dr. Phil.
Well, I'm a really good untwister. Okay? We're out of time for today. I hope you found this interesting. I want to thank all of my guests today. I want to thank Stephen for joining us from prison. Stephen, thank you. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. You can tell us what you think on Facebook and Twitter. I think there's going to be a lot of chat about this. Don't forget to subscribe to my new podcast called Fill in the Blanks. It's free. You just go to podcasts, click on it, hit the subscribe button, and it will tell you every time a new interview comes out. And that happens every week. And I'm talking to some really interesting people about really interesting things. We'll see you next time.
Today on a Dr. Phil exclusive, the boy starved and locked in a closet.
He looked zombie-like, and he was in a diaper in fetal position.
Millions watched as Dr. Phil rushed to the scene. Now,
I heard a taser go off, screaming.
The step-siblings speak out.
My mom, she's lying about everything that she said.
I would hear him banging on the wall, crying.
The father.
You think he was throwing firecrackers at him in the closet?
And stepmother convicted.
And she's saying, I had nothing to do with it, but you heard her saying, put him back in the closet.
Their exclusive interview.
You won't believe what they saw. It was a heartbreaking story we have been involved with from the beginning. A little boy rescued after being starved and held prisoner inside a closet under the stairs. 5-year-old Jordan Blymeyer made headlines as the boy held captive in what some called the Harry Potter closet. Now, he weighed just 29 pounds when he was rescued. As Jordan lay recovering in a hospital bed, we were the first on the scene, and we spoke exclusively to his biological mother, Wendy Hall, and the Harris County sergeant who wanted this story told because he said it was the worst case of child abuse he had ever seen. Now, at the time, Jordan's stepmother, Tammy, the woman he lived with when rescued, refused to talk to us. But her attorneys did let us inside their home and showed us the closet where Tammy and his father denied Jordan was ever imprisoned. Take a look.
A little boy starved and locked under the stairs.
He was wearing a soiled diaper when cops found him. The bruises and the cuts on this child's body, his bones are literally sticking out of his skin.
Something out of a third world country.
According to authorities, an innocent 5-year-old boy was being held prisoner in a tiny closet under the stairs, allegedly terrorized at the hands of his very own father and stepmother. When you ultimately recover the child, what did he look like?
He had bumps, bruises, cuts on his head. Never seen anything like it in my career, and just horrific.
Tonight, 5-year-old Jordan is at Children's Memorial recovering after police say he nearly died because he was being starved.
His biological mother, Wendy Hall, appeared before a judge. She's fighting for full custody of her only child.
When this child was taken to the hospital, it's my understanding that he weighed 29 pounds.
Oh, yeah. It's something no child should ever have to endure. They had an extra little room inside of the room in the closet. and it was just a small little cubby hole.
What the 16-year-old was saying is that Jordan actually had to stay in that room.
Back in here.
Right.
Has this room been painted since the allegations have been made? Because it's still masked off. What do you think when you look at this?
I think those people are monsters.
Bradley and Tammy Blymeyer were arrested and Tammy bonded out of jail.
Cops found out about this horror because the boy's courageous 16-year-old stepbrother had enough and got into a fight with his stepfather over the abuse of this little boy.
Well, today we have an exclusive interview with 3 of Jordan's step-siblings who describe what they saw and heard in that house. Their mother, Tammy Blymeyer, did eventually sit down with me in an exclusive interview months after I gained access to the house. Now, I'm sure you noticed that when her attorneys let me in, the house looked immaculate, and the closet was nothing like a prison. I said right then on the spot, I thought it was staged, and as it turned out, I was exactly right. When I spoke to Jordan's stepmother, Tammy, she denied abusing the boy. She just said, I had no idea. Here's what she told me. When Jordan was found, he was severely underweight. He had bones sticking out. He had skin coming off.
I never even saw that. I didn't see him looking like that.
Why was he wearing a diaper when he was found?
Because he wore diapers at night. He had accidents.
He was 5. Did you ever see him lock him in the closet under the stairs?
We didn't even have a lock on the closet.
Why did your own son tell the police that that was happening?
I can't answer a question, why did he say that, if I don't even know that he said that.
Your allegation is this whole thing is completely fabricated. Jordan was never in that closet.
I never saw that.
Well, the police reports say that 16-year-old and 14-year-old say that he was kept in there.
There's a lot of inaccuracies.
But you said, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
know what's being said. I just told you what's being said.
I don't know what the police reports.
That's one version. You're saying that never happened.
I never saw that.
Is there some version of it that has or hasn't been said that involves Jordan and this closet?
I can't answer that. I'm not Brad.
You were this child's stepmother. He was living in your home. Did you let that little boy down?
I think there's a lot of people that let him down.
Are you one of them?
Yes.
You know, I've spent a lot of my professional career studying and working in the area of deception detection. And that woman was lying to me. I knew it then, and I know it now. Now, almost 5 years after that interview on this stage, Jordan's stepmother, Tammy, has been convicted of injury to a child by omission and sentenced to 28 years in prison.
Testifying in front of a jury, 21-year-old Cody Frank and 19-year-old Allison Frank. The Frank siblings testified that their mother and stepfather said nobody could interact with Jordan. Cody said he found his stepbrother emaciated and foaming at the mouth inside this hidden closet door. Inside, he said, were exposed nails, wires, and what he says was firecracker paper. The siblings said Jordan disappeared for extended periods of time and eventually was rarely at the dinner table.
Breaking news tonight.
Hours ago, a jury sentenced Tammy Blymeyer to 28 years in prison.
We, the jury, having found the defendant, Tammy Blymeyer, guilty of injury to a child.
Once the judge read the sentence, Blymeyer's children were overcome with mixed emotions inside the courtroom.
It's no mystery why we're all here. You made a big mistake and ultimately have to face the consequences.
Jordan's biological father pled guilty in 2016 and was sentenced to 15 years behind bars. Jordan is now staying with his biological mother.
Let me tell you what happened here and why this thing fell apart. When we got into this story, we came in hard, we came in fast, and these people didn't have a chance to really put all of their ducks in a row. Once we got onto this story, we flew into Houston like really fast. We were at the hospital talking to the family of the little boy that had been rescued. We asked to talk to Tammy And they said, no, we can't let you talk to her. But I said, if she hasn't anything to hide, why wouldn't she want to talk on this little boy's behalf? So the lawyer said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll let you inspect the home. What they didn't know is that I had on standby a helicopter in downtown Houston, and I was on board that helicopter and out to Spring, Texas within minutes, and we showed up at the house ready to go in and inspect. Now today, for the first time ever, the step-siblings who saved Jordan's life are speaking out. You won't believe what they say they saw. Jordan's step-siblings, Cody, Allie, and Dylan, are the ones who eventually saved his life. They say when Jordan first moved in with them, everything was normal.
I was about 14 when Jordan came and lived with us. Jordan was about 3 years old. He was just a outgoing, happy kid.
He was always playing and laughing, and he was my little buddy.
Everybody got along fine. Over time, things started getting more stressful. Brad was definitely the main abuser. He would do things like smack him on the back of his head.
One time, I had heard yelling and stuff going on downstairs, louder than usual. I heard Brad go into the room where Jordan was kept, and then I heard a taser go off. I heard screaming.
I heard Jordan yelling, "Stop, don't do that." Previously, Brad had threatened to tase me. My mom would step in and she would question what Brad was doing, but she kind of stopped. She said it wasn't her kid and she didn't have a say in it.
Well, thank you three for being here. I really, really appreciate this, because every show that we do, every conversation we have, is really a teaching tool and a cautionary tale for other families. And sadly, every situation doesn't have heroes like you guys. And I know you don't like being called heroes, but you did what had to be done. How many kids were in the house at the time?
There were 7.
There were 6 there, and then when he was added, he was the 7th child in the home?
There was a lot of us.
So at the time, what was he like, and how was he treated when he first came in?
Brad brought Jordan there, and it was just like having a stepbrother, you know. He was treated like all of our other siblings at the beginning. I mean, there's nothing abnormal about it.
Well, what really happened behind closed doors in this house of horrors? What was going on that we suspected but didn't know? They're going to tell us what was on the other side.
The best way I could describe Jordan when he was a human skeleton.
He looked zombie-like. He was foaming from his mouth a little bit.
I think that if we didn't open the door, he would have potentially died.
34-year-old Tammy Blymeyer made national headlines last year after being accused of locking her 5-year-old stepson Jordan in a closet under the stairs inside their home and nearly starving him to death. The Dr. Phil show, which airs on Channel 2, got an exclusive look inside the home where this allegedly happened. Tammy is the biological mother of 7 children. She was pregnant with the 7th when she was allegedly locking and starving her stepson Jordan under the stairs.
At first, did he sleep just like all the other kids in a bed at all?
Our brother, who was about the same age as him, they set up two toddler beds right next to each other in like the den area, and they pretty much like shared a room down there.
Okay, was he a difficult child or a stressful child?
He was just as stressful as any typical 3-4-year-old. Like,
he was a handful, but
he was just as stressful as our other brother was, who was the same age. So,
right. So he wasn't like an outlier in some way where he was different from everybody else.
Not at all.
Okay. So how did Bradley treat you three?
When he first moved in, we got along pretty good. He, being new to the picture, of course, he's going to kind of be on his, I guess, best behavior, so to speak. But as time moved on, I guess it slowly, it became worse.
And when you say it became worse, how did it become worse? And it was towards all of you, any one of you, towards Jordan?
He began to have like angry outbursts, and my mom and Brad started arguing a lot more, and he just kind of gave up.
When you say he gave up, what do you mean?
He first addressed us and said, things were going to be different and with him, and he was going to try to clean the house and help us out and be the dad. And then over time, my mom is in charge of the house, and so I guess to say, like, he really wasn't allowed to step into that role.
Something in him switched up, and he just all of a sudden became like, no, I can't be nice to you anymore. I was like, you can't be nice to me anymore? What do you mean? And he was like, well, your mom put it in line like this. I can either be your friend or I can be your parent.
What did you say to yourself when an adult says that to you?
I was like shocked, like, what do you mean? Like, and he wouldn't like elaborate on it. He explained just like he did. And so I was left with just confusion.
Who ran the household?
Our mom.
Okay. Well, let's take a break. Coming up, Jordan started disappearing. When Cody, Alan, and Dylan asked their mother where Jordan was, they were shocked by her answer. We're going to find out what it was after the break.
Jordan would cry to me and say, I'm hungry. So at that point, I would ask them why they weren't feeding him, and they would tell me that he was lying and he was just being manipulative. I realized that that wasn't true, and I started bringing him bread when I could. Anytime he was around, I told him I loved him, and I told him that he was my brother and that everything would be okay. It was really hard to watch something like that happen and not have anyone be able to do anything.
When 5-year-old Jordan Blymeyer was rescued in 2014, he was so emaciated the hospital could only feed him 100 calories at a time. But Jordan's father and stepmother weren't just starving him. There was more to it than that. Take a look.
I started to notice little things like Jordan's pillow being taken away and his blanket. From there, it moved to Jordan asking for food.
When Jordan did eat, it was like leftover pizza crust, bits and pieces of whatever they may have had from dinner. My sister and I would try to give Jordan food, but we would get in trouble if we tried to interfere.
I first was aware that Jordan was in the closet because I actually heard him crying. They told me that he was in the closet because that was his timeout. The closet that they put him in was a closet inside of a closet. So it was like a little cubby hole.
It was like a hard cement floor with nails and stuff coming out.
I could actually hear him through the stairs asking for help. Help me, help.
If I ever asked my mom why he was in the closet, she said it was none of my business.
Allie, you seem really sensitive to it and picking up on what was going on, and it's so difficult for a child like you because you have awarenesses but no power.
Yeah, I took care of all of my siblings, and it was hard because he was now one of my siblings, and I wanted the best for him, and I wanted to do what was right for him.
How was he being excluded or marginalized when he wasn't in the closet? What was happening to him then?
When he wasn't in the closet, Brad, if Jordan was like bothering him, he would typically take his anger out on him by throwing him to the ground. There's one evening that I came downstairs. Brad had been telling Jordan to stop doing something, and Jordan didn't listen. He threw him to the ground, took his belts off, and started just wailing all over him. And Jordan was crying, saying, "Stop, that hurts."
When it came time to eat, and y'all would be at the table, he was not permitted at the table.
Yeah, it was hard to notice at first. We didn't always have family dinners like every night, but at the beginning, Jordan would be there. And as time moved on, it became a regular thing,
You would hear your mother say when she got stressed, she would tell Brad, go put Jordan back in the closet.
Yeah.
And would he fight going in the closet, or would he submit?
At the beginning, he would cry and yell.
Yeah, I would hear him like banging on the wall and asking for help and just crying and screaming, and just he didn't understand why he was there.
As time moved on,
it just became a regular thing.
He became more submissive to it, yeah.
And there were firecracker papers, residue in the cubbyhole, the closet where he was kept. How did those get in there?
I believe it was due to Brad throwing them in there, just abuse towards Jordan out of anger and frustration.
So the popping sound you heard, you think he was throwing firecrackers at him in the closet?
That's my belief based off of.
I heard it from my room too.
You called the police on more than one occasion.
Oh yeah, the police were out at her house.
I want to say it was like a monthly thing.
I want to say it was like every other week. I mean,
you'd call them and tell them what?
Brad was assaulted me a couple times. We would tell them everything that was going on between Brad being in and out of jail, stealing things, the way that it had changed our life. And you know, I'm 16, 15 years old. Like, tell me what to do, you know?
And you called about Jordan on more than one occasion.
Yeah, yes.
And what would they do when they came and did a check on that?
I guess because my mom wouldn't let them in the house. They couldn't really do anything. They didn't have enough evidence to go in there, and I wasn't of age to let them come in.
Well, coming up, Cody let Jordan out of the closet and says his little brother was emaciated, looked like a zombie, and was wearing nothing but a soiled diaper. We're going to go inside this dramatic rescue next.
We saw an opportunity to let him out.
Cody came sprinting out of the room, and he speared Brad into the wall, and they started fighting.
My first reaction was really just to make as much noise as possible.
I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen.
We got a call of a 16-year-old and his stepdad fist-fighting in the front yard. Deputies respond and separate them. The 16-year-old starts saying, look, we're fighting because he came home and saw that I let my 5-year-old stepbrother out of the closet. He was hungry. He was being abused. The deputies immediately go inside the house, start looking for the 5-year-old. A few minutes later, we're told by witnesses on the scene that the stepmother, moments before our deputies arrived, had fled the location with the child.
Well, when this story broke 5 years ago about the little boy held captive in a Harry Potter type room in a closet under the stairs, we spoke to everyone involved to fight for justice for this child. Now today we have the final piece of this story, and you just heard me talking to the sergeant who is saying, Dr. Phil, I want you to shine a bright light on this. We got to break this wide open because of the courage of these siblings here. They are the ones responsible for saving Jordan's life.
The day that I found Jordan in the closet, I had just gotten off work. Brad and I had already gotten into a heated argument.
And it just escalated very quickly. And we saw an opportunity to let him out. And I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. But Cody was like, no, I'm going to do it. So he opened the closet door.
The best way I could describe Jordan when he was a human skeleton, way underweight. He had a gash or something on the back of his head. He had bruises all over him. He was like discolored, and just, it was awful.
He looked zombie-like. He was foaming from his mouth a little bit, and he was sitting in a diaper in fetal position.
He was skin and bone, and when I held him, I didn't even feel like I was holding anything. He was so light, and his cheeks were sunk in.
I had never seen anything like that before. This was the worst shape that I had ever seen Jordan the whole time that he had been living with us.
Cody came sprinting out of the room, and He speared Brad into the wall, and they started fighting.
My first reaction was really just to make as much noise as possible. Went outside, was yelling at the top of my lungs. I was going to find a reason for somebody to come into the house and get some kind of help.
I think that if we didn't open the door, he would have potentially died, but I'm glad that we didn't have to find out.
Well, Allie, I think you are exactly right, because when I visited at the hospital, they were having to do what's called refeed, and that's why they were having to give him only 100 calories at a time. So he was in organ shutdown at the time you said, I'm making all the noise I can. I'm going to raise hell till something happens. So God bless you all for raising the hell that you did. Now, do you think that he had been drugged as well? Because you said he was zombie-like, or do you think this was weakness from malnourishment?
I absolutely think he was drugged. Brad was complaining about how Jordan doesn't ever shut up, you know, he won't stop. He was like, I'm just gonna go get Jordan his medicine. I just know he was using it to he said, put him to sleep.
Take me through the moment that you as a child made the decision to take on a full-grown violent man on behalf of this stepbrother, because I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. I may get my ass whipped, but enough's enough, and now we're just going to throw down here because this is stopping now some way or another. What went through your head at that moment?
I mean, my first reaction when I really, you know, had that gut feeling when it started adding up and the way he was treating him wasn't right, it was just my initial reaction.
And before the police came, your mother took Jordan and fled.
She left the three of us there with Brad when she left.
Then she came back and got you?
Right.
And she took you to a motel where they were staying?
Yes.
And what happened in that motel?
Or Jordan said he was hungry. And my mom turned around, she said, oh, you hungry? She was like, you want some pizza? And he was like, yeah. So we went and picked up like 2 or 3 like large pizzas. She told Jordan he could eat as much of the pizza as he wanted.
So what was her point in getting the pizzas and feeding him at that point?
I guess she was just trying to like show that she was trying to feed him.
Hoping maybe to fatten him up or
right.
Before they got caught?
Right.
And how was he reacting at this point?
I mean, he was just happy to have food, honestly.
Coming up, Tammy says she wasn't involved in punishing Jordan, and her husband Bradley was the one to blame. That's next. Has this room been tainted since the allegations have been made?
There was no way that she kept the house that clean.
It definitely completely looked like something that you would see on a home makeover show.
How do you have a child in that condition in your home and not notice it?
Well, whenever happened to Jordan happened within a small time frame. My life was just so busy with the other kids, and I had 5 of my own children that I was taking to doctor's appointments, you know, band, soccer. Brad was responsible for taking care of Jordan, and everywhere that he went, Jordan went to.
What did you think when you saw that interview?
Like, I don't know, like she's definitely lying about everything that she said.
Clearly she's lying. I mean, we know that. And she's saying, I had nothing to do with it, didn't know it, wasn't aware of it, didn't see him. But you specifically heard her telling Brad, put him in that closet. You all 3 heard her say it.
Yeah.
And when you saw the house on camera, what did you think?
I was shocked.
Yeah, I was too. That looked nothing how our house was before.
I noticed right away something was very off about this house. Take a look.
When Dr. Phil came to see the house, it was absolutely staged.
It definitely completely looked like something that you would see on a home makeover show.
So the 2 boys slept in here?
Right.
Uh-huh.
There was no way that she kept the house that clean and made everybody's beds all the time.
Has this room been painted since the allegations have been made? Because it's still masked off. It looks awfully pristine if two little boys lived in here.
If it has not. I don't know anything about it.
The wall upstairs was in the process of being built. It was not painted. There was nothing in there was ever there before.
You're saying nobody went in and staged that house for our cameras to walk through?
No, I have pictures of the house from March 11th, and it looks exactly like that.
My mom and Brad definitely tried to skew people's view of the way that the house looked at the time.
You know there was paint rollers and pans and everything, brushes and everything just outside the back door.
He started painting it in November or December, and I think it was just finished in February. The tape was still on there because he's lazy. That's why the paint rollers were in the backyard.
When I look at this house that's so pristine, and you're telling me I was so overwhelmed I didn't notice this emaciated child walking through my house. It was just complete, utter chaos. It just got lost in the mix, and I'm looking at this house and I'm going, really? Really? You had to be shocked when you see the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I open the front door, walk in, and I smell fresh paint. Either somebody's written stupid on my forehead. I start looking around, and the masking tape is still up on the edges of the room. I go out in the backyard, and I walk out in the weeds in the backyard, and these pans are out there, and the rollers are wet. I also opened another door and saw this in the garage. It looks like that stuff had been in the house and dumped out into the garage when they staged the house. I also investigated the actual closet where Jordan was allegedly held. You won't believe what I noticed that made me know without a shadow of a doubt that Tammy was lying and that little boy had been kept in that closet after the break. Well, Tammy's attorney allowed me inside Tammy's home in an attempt to prove to me that she was a good mother and that despite the child being 29 pounds, bruised and near death, Jordan was well cared for. Let's take a look at what I found.
This is the closet.
Okay.
And then if you go back here.
Let me help you with it. How long have these clothes been?
They stay here. But back here, if you move all of the stuff, which is why it's just ridiculous that the 16-year-old says that this is where he stayed. There's baby clothes and baby items. What the 16-year-old was saying is that Jordan actually had to stay in that room.
Back in here.
Right. And as you can see, not possible.
So for her to get to her one-year-old's stuff, she went under a solid row of clothes, got down on her knees, opened this, and got stuff up for her one-year-old?
When you have 6 kids, you do what you can.
So Tammy's position that this child was never kept in this closet?
Never kept in the closet.
Never punished by being put in this closet?
Never punished by being put in the closet.
Was never in here, never in this cubbyhole crawl space?
It didn't happen.
What do you see when you look at that closet the way it's shown here?
Did not look like that at all. There was nothing in there. I mean, other than nails and wiring, and I mean, it looked a lot worse than that was.
What she was telling me is that if she needed something for that child, that she crawled under all of those clothes in the outer closet, opened that door, reached in there, pulled open those drawers, crawled backwards back out of there, got up and put that on the child. And I said, "You telling me that's what she does every day?" She said, "Well, when you got too many kids, you do what you have to do."
That part right there never happened.
No.
This right here, that's just absolutely staged.
That's completely made up. How it looks in that cubby hole,
right?
Everything in there was added later on.
Okay, that was put in for our cameras, our benefit.
Yeah.
I've often said a non-credible denial can be much more damning than an admission. So we're in a staged house. It's as they always say, the cover-up's worse than the crime, and so now 28 years in prison. Now, coming up, Cody, Allie, and Dylan testify against their mother at trial. Why they never questioned speaking out against her. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Well, I'm back with Cody, Allie, and Dylan. They are the step-siblings of Jordan, who sadly, tragically, was abused mentally, emotionally, physically, starved, and rescued because Cody just finally said, I don't care. I'm just going to raise enough hell until something has to happen. They've been very forthcoming about what took place. They testified in court, not so much against their mother, but on behalf of this child that needed someone to stand up and speak on his behalf. How did you decide that you were going to speak out about this and say the right thing?
It was still, of course, it was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. But it's just what was the right thing to do,
Do you have any regrets?
No.
How about you?
No.
How about you, Dylan?
Not at all.
Have you talked to your mother since the trial, and have you talked to her since she was sentenced just recently?
No.
No.
Do you have any desire to talk to her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd all like to have a relationship with her again. I haven't seen her since I was like 16, and I don't know how that would work because of the fact that she can't accept what happened.
What would you say to her?
I guess just why, really? I think that's kind of the question everybody wants to know, is what was going through your head when it was happening, if anything was.
You realize there's got to be something seriously wrong with her to allow this to happen. She needs serious help, right?
Yeah.
And until that happens, I think you have to be very guarded because if she's diluted enough that she tells herself she didn't do anything wrong here, then her compass is way off. Because if you have empathy, then you're sitting there as a mother knowing that there is a hungry, scared, cold, hurting child in a dark, cold space while you're sitting there having dinner. That's really messed up. And I would hope that you would really say that to her when you talk to her. Say, you need to stop lying to yourself. Now, Cody, Allie, and Dylan say they recently reunited with Jordan at a birthday party and that he is healthy, happy, and thriving. So you guys saw him and he looked good?
Yeah, it was really good seeing him like that. After everything that had happened, he had definitely put on a lot more weight. He was happy.
Yeah. It was awesome. We walked in there and he just acted like nothing changed. But he was playing video games and he was happy and he was like running around outside and he looked like a little boy, and it was the most amazing thing.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad to hear that. Look, I want to thank Cody, Allie, and Dylan for being brave enough to share their story and to show that if you're a child inside a home and something isn't right, don't be afraid to take action and don't stop until you get help. We're going to have all kinds of numbers on drphil.com where you can reach out for help. And, we always say, if you see something, say something. And I add another piece to that. If you see something, say something and do something. Don't let somebody continue to suffer. Do what these guys did, because they actually saved a life here, I guarantee you. So God bless the three of you for being there and doing what you need to do. Yeah. If you want to talk more about this, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And do not forget to subscribe to my new podcast called Fill in the Blanks. That's PHIL, Fill in the Blanks. It's the #1 new podcast. You can find it on Apple, Stitcher, anywhere podcasts are found. It's right at the top of the list. Thanks for watching today.
Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, she's the daughter of the BTK serial killer.
I don't know BTK. I know my dad.
You were a daddy's girl. He actually taught you about stranger danger.
He taught me how to fight off a man because he had done this to other people.
Never before revealed details.
Carrie has never read her father's letters publicly before.
He wrote this a month after he pled guilty to 10 murders, including 2 children.
If he were out today, do you think he would kill again?
Yeah, he was planning one right before he was arrested.
So you wouldn't trust him?
Oh, God, no. He's my dad, but I'm also scared to death of him.
Well, I have a mini project you're all going to help me with today. I want to create a man that many people might consider just absolutely ideal. He's on the screen here. This man is tall, he's college educated, served in the military, is a hands-on dad, good provider, churchgoer, Cub Scout leader, outdoorsman. What do you think so far? Sound like a decent kind of guy? If you were in the dating world, is this the kind of guy you would date? If so, stand up. Just based on what you know. Okay. How about being marriage candidates? Is this the kind of person you'd say, okay, you'd marry, remain standing? Okay. And stand up if you think that he would be a great father. All right, still good. Outdoorsman, Cub Scout leader involved, right? A lot of you seem to think, definitely great guy. This ideal man actually exists. His name is Dennis. But Dennis, with all of these great qualities, all these things that we just listed, is also known as the BTK Strangler. BTK stands for bind, torture, and kill. Dennis is a notorious serial killer who murdered people for 3 decades, and this is what he said in court about murdering his first victims, parents and their 2 small children.
Stalking and murder in Wichita, Kansas.
For 3 decades, Wichita, Kansas has lived with a murder mystery.
This case involves at least 10 murders by a man who, in letters to police, called himself a monster.
The serial killer who nicknamed himself BTK. Bind them, torture them, kill them.
10 victims strangled without mercy.
We have torture devices.
He commented to me at one point, "I'm sorry, I know this is a human being, but I'm a monster."
January 1974, 4 members of the Otero family are tied up and strangled, including 2 children, 9-year-old Joseph and 11-year-old Josephine, who is hanged from a basement pipe.
What did you do to Joseph Otero?
I put a plastic bag over his head and then some cords and then tightened it. This is Otero. I had never strangled anyone before, so I really don't know how much pressure you had to put on a person or how long it would take. And I strangled Josephine. She passed out, and then put a bag on Junior's head. Josephine woke back up, and I took her to the basement and hung her.
I opened up the door to the kitchen, the back door. I ran down the hall, opened the door and looked and saw my mom and my dad there. My dad's tongue was halfway bit off. He had a belt around his neck. My mom was beaten. Felt like physically having your chest ripped open and your heart pulled out. It changed my life instantly.
3 months later, BTK struck again. His next victim was Catherine Bright, who he had never seen before the day he drove by and saw her entering her home. Then he broke in, and when strangulation didn't work, he stabbed her 2 to 3 times in her side and back. 3 years later, when BTK entered Shirley Vian Relford's home, he actually told her he planned to tie her up so he would need to put her children in another room. So BTK got the woman's kids settled in the bathroom with toys and blankets, and then put a bag over her head, and then strangled her to death. And when his wife was pregnant with his second child, a daughter, he was out murdering his seventh victim, Nancy Fox.
December 1977, BTK bound and strangled 25-year-old Nancy Fox and added a twist. He reported the murder to police himself.
You will find a homicide at 843 South Pershing, Nancy Fox.
Then the killer sent a chilling letter to a local TV station that read in part, "How many do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper or some national attention?"
Nancy Fox broke in, told her to have to tie her up and have sex with her. I took the belt and then strangled her.
As BTK killed his sixth victim, his wife Paula Rader was pregnant with the couple's second child, a daughter.
Now, while Dennis sat at the dinner table with his pregnant wife, she had no idea that the hands he used to hug her when he returned home were the same hands he used to wrap around his victims' necks and strangle them to death. His wife's unborn baby ended up being a little girl who grew up to be a self-professed daddy's girl. Well, we're going to talk to her about being a serial killer's daughter after the break. Two of you shared an interest in killer movies. Here's a man that's out doing this. He's out killing people, and he's coming home to his daughter and saying, "Let's go watch Silence of the Lambs."
The 31-year-long manhunt for the BTK killer is over. BTK is arrested. Investigators say the so-called BTK killer, who terrorized residents of Wichita, has been linked by DNA evidence to the murders.
BTK serial killer was finally sentenced today.
Will Dennis L. Rader be taken by the sheriff of Sedgwick County?
The judge gave Rader the maximum sentence, 175 years.
Please welcome Carrie Rawson, the author of A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming. Her father, Dennis Rader, a serial killer known as BTK, is currently serving 10 life sentences for killing 8 adults and 2 children in a murder spree that terrorized Wichita, Kansas from 1974 to 1991. And you said that at first you tried to alibi your father.
I was 26 in 2005 when the FBI knocked on my door to tell me that my father had been arrested, and they said they thought he was BTK. And so I was worried something had happened to my mom or my grandma because BTK strangled women that lived alone. And they're like, "No, we're trying to tell you your father is BTK." And so then I was like, "No, you have the wrong man," because, you know, he was a church volunteer and a Boy Scout leader and like the man that I loved. And I'm like showing him the picture of him on the wall saying, "You've got that picture right there."
Right.
You know.
So, and you were a daddy's girl, and he was your best friend.
Right.
This was someone you looked up to every day.
Right.
In looking back, even now, in looking back, were there any red flags?
A few times when I was older, when I was 18, my brother was 21, we got into a family fight. I had been home from college. My mom had made a nice dinner, and we got into a fight, and we broke the table, and my dad lunged at my brother, like straight on, and tried to strangle my brother at dinner. And
just out of the blue.
And now my dad is just not even looking like my dad physically in his eyes, like he's just someone else. And then my dad like got dejected and hung his head, and he said he was sorry, and you could kind of see him come back to the guy I knew.
Do you think, in retrospect, that during that moment, BTK flashed in your father?
In retrospect, when I can see what my father looked like in court, you can see like the eyes narrow and get darker. And like my father had a lot of internal rage when he came after my brother, and he didn't look like the man I knew. So I would say that's probably the closest I got to BTK, but I have a hard time calling my dad BTK because he's just my dad.
Right. Now, he actually taught you about stranger danger.
As a teenager, when he was teaching me to drive, he taught me how to like fight off a man, and he taught me how to carry my key, and I still do it. When you come to find out who your father is, and then you realize he was teaching you these things because he had done this to other people, it destroys you for a long time.
Well, Carrie says that she was terrified as a child, knowing that her neighbor down the street, Maureen Hedge, had been murdered, and you had no idea the person that had done the murder was at your dinner table on your couch sitting with you the whole time. You had no idea about that, but you were afraid in your own neighborhood.
Yeah, I was 6, and it really affected me, and we think it actually even led to night terrors that I still deal with now.
Okay. All right, let's take a look.
In April 1985, Maureen Hedge disappears. She lives in the same block as Dennis Rader.
I very carefully snuck into the house, jumped on the bed and strangled her manually. I moved her to the trunk of the car. She was already dead, so I took pictures of her in different forms of bondage.
Police find Hedge's body the next week.
What goes through your mind when you see that?
He clicks over and he's very cold and callous. Did you hear that? When he's like, well, she was already dead. That's a very cold, callous, calculating person, and I don't know that man.
Yeah, some say that he was more BTK than he was Dennis. You say he was more Dennis than he was BTK.
Right. I mean, the detectives that have interviewed and solved his case, that he's 95% BTK and a little bit Dennis, and I argue it's the other way around. He's 95% my dad. And 5% a man I don't know, because if I knew that man, I wouldn't be alive.
But the two of you shared an interest in true crime and killer movies. Do you think that he was sharing those things with you in some kind of bizarre sort of way? Because think about this. Here's a man that's out doing this. He's out killing people, and he's coming home to his daughter and saying, let's go watch Silence of the Lambs.
Right. In hindsight, I feel like maybe he was trying to share something with me because we were very close, and maybe wanting me to understand what was wrong with him. And you still see it today when he writes me. But part of the reason I wrote this book is to say, look, we're not catching these guys quick enough because they look normal, because they are normal. You know, they can be loving, caring, but they're also psychopathic. And we're not catching them quick enough because we're only looking for the psychopaths. We're not looking for the guy that never even got a speeding ticket.
Well, Carrie says her father sent her some unusual things from behind bars. We're going to talk more about that after the break.
You will always be my baby girl, and the dark side took me away. And he wrote that a month after he pled guilty to 10 murders, including 2 children.
Carrie is the daughter of Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK serial killer, and reveals what it was like growing up with him in her book, A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming. And when you're saying that your father is more the loving father than he was the serial killer, but when he's taking you to these movies and focusing on this, I have to tell you, from a psychological perspective, that seems to me to be really perverse.
Right.
He knew he had been in people's houses, choked the life out of them, taken them from their families, and then he says, let's go entertain myself and entertain my daughter by watching this glorified on the screen. And to sit there and share that with you, to me, is beyond psychopathic. That is beyond perverse to do that.
Well, I mean, he's a certified sexual sadistic psychopath that we know now, and then he's extremely narcissistic. So I didn't see the narcissism, and I didn't see the psychotic, except, like I said, with my brother. I didn't see the sexual sadist, but I totally agree with you, and I think like a criminologist would agree with you too, that he was sort of getting a high off of like his secret pleasure. Let's go get some popcorn and share popcorn and pop, and he's sitting there, you know, like you said, and I think that's very insightful, and I would agree with that.
Now, Dennis Rader has shared several letters with Kerry since his arrest in 2005, and Kerry told our producers that she has never read her father's letters publicly before. And we're going to take a look at a few excerpts from these letters. And this is one that came out in 2005. This is something he wrote to you in 2005.
After the plea before the sentencing, this is my dad. Want you to know I do not hate you or don't love you. The problems I have are far away from family love. I know they hurt, and hopefully someday your heart will mend and you can forgive me. You will always be my baby girl I raised right proud, independent, and now as a grown adult with many years of love to give. I'm so glad we had that family vacation in May of 2004. So many memories. Life before the arrest was a good time, and the dark side took me away. And he wrote that a month after he pled guilty to 10 murders, including 2 children. And I didn't talk to him for 2 years after the sentencing.
Mm-hmm. What was your emotion when you read those? Was that like, I've got a flash of my father coming through? Or was it sadness? Was it anger? Was it betrayal? What was the emotion?
I'm feeling sad because he's talking about me being his baby girl, and I lost my father in 2005. And I've had to grieve the loss of this massively important man. But then the whole world says you don't get to grieve this man and you don't get to love him because he's not lovable and he's evil and you don't have the right to talk about him. And people do not understand that I don't know BTK. I know my dad.
Well, he wrote to you on July 24th of 2005, and there's a letter that Kerry shared in her book that she says her father sent during the summer after he was arrested. And it says, "Dear Kerry, forgive me for missing your wedding anniversary on July 26. I had it marked down and meant well, but didn't get it done. So this card, made by another inmate, cost me a Snickers bar, will be the wish. This Sunday p.m. after supper, I'm in my room with a fresh cup of coffee and finishing letters and correspondence. The lien on the house has caused a wedge between me and the defense. They mention nothing of this early as we try to make a decision on non-guilty or plea. I wanted Mom out of harm from the onset. I cooperated with the police. I cooperated with the court to save taxpayers millions and family wishes on plea, and then they screw me with a lien. It's out of my hand. I'm still very upset and trust no one in the legal world anymore."
Yeah.
That's
a brick wall of insanity that I've been living with and writing to that's what you're getting.
He's offended here. And then he said something that really upset you. He said, "My family were social contacts and pawns in my game."
So when I heard that at the sentencing, that's when the final wall slammed down, and I was like he could rot in hell.
Well, Kerry says she never asked to be a part of the serial killer kid club and wants to know how to get rid of her anxiety. I want to talk about that question when we come back. You can see that above the line, normal things are going on. Going to the lake and camping, and below the line, he's destroying people's lives.
I'm Kerry Rawson, the daughter of Dennis Rader, otherwise known as the BTK serial killer, who murdered 10 innocent people, including 2 children. Today, I live with anxiety and depression and PTSD. I'm a crime victim from before I was born. This is my reality. I'd do anything to not be the daughter of a serial killer, but I am.
Well, Kerry Rawson is the author of the book, A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Faith, Love, and Overcoming. And, we put together a timeline, and I'm calling it Milestones versus Murders, because if you look at it, above the line are all the normal things that are dad. Your mother gets pregnant with you, then fishing with you at a Kansas lake, decorating the Christmas tree, family trip to Chicago. And then while a lot of this is going on, below the line, killing a family of 4,
Right.
killing a woman that lives alone. Nancy Fox is strangled with a belt. Maureen Hedge is strangled with his hands. I mean, it just goes on. And then while these things are happening, above the line, normal things are going on. So your experience is going to the lake and camping and taking a family trip. And below the line, he's destroying people's lives, destroying families, which you have no knowledge of. And you can see, decorating the Christmas tree here, Yellowstone, Colorado River, all of these things that are so normal and natural in your life, right up until he's arrested in 2005. And then you say he makes this comment to the detectives when he's arrested that you're just social contacts and pawns in his game. You stopped talking to him for 2 years. Why did you start back?
I ended up in trauma therapy, and she's the one that encouraged me to write my dad because she thought it would help heal me.
Do you think that your father has genuine remorse for what he's done to you, the betrayal of you?
Early on, it seemed like he was sorry that he had been caught, or that he was sorry because he didn't have his house shoes, or he was sorry because his food stinks. Occasionally, that sanity will break in. After the sentencing, he wrote me and he said he was so sorry for the victims and he asked God to be between him and them. But that's about the closest he's ever got to remorse. So you only get through, if you get through, you only get through for a tiny bit.
Have you had hate mail? Have you had people hating on you?
Yeah, like still today, my book just came out yesterday, and today you could go onto my public Facebook and they're telling me I don't have the right to be a victim, I don't have the right to suffer, I didn't go through anything traumatic. These are strangers today, that come on and just blast these things at me.
What would you say to families that would say you are trying to profit from and capitalize on their pain and loss by writing a book for money?
I didn't speak to the media for 10 years. And when I finally started speaking up, I realized that only in speaking up was I able to heal in a way I wasn't able to in therapy. And I was tired of being ashamed. I was tired of hiding. I was tired of suffering. So this is my story, and I have the right to tell it.
So you wouldn't trust him?
Oh, God, no. I'm also scared to death of him.
And you still have night terrors now?
I had one last night. I thought there was a man there to strangle me.
He sent you birthday cards from time to time. Okay, this is 18.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have some from 05 all the way. He sent them intermittently.
He knew we had gotten kittens in 05. And the creepy thing about that one is it's actually the right layout to where my cat would have been sitting on the couch. I never knew how he knew that.
A lot of these have teeth in them in kind of unusual ways, like this one that is pretty bizarre.
Yeah, but it's mild for my dad compared to what's out there publicly as what he did as BTK. But that's pretty bizarre to send me. And then he wanted me to frame it and put it on my wall, and I was like, thanks, Dad, but no thanks.
If he were out today, do you think he would kill again?
Yeah, because he had gaps. He had a gap between 77 and 85, and he said he got busy raising kids, and he just was busy being a father. But he also became occupied. He would try to stop, and he would try to occupy himself with things like gardening, and he would get really obsessed. Like he built us a massive tree house, and later on he was really obsessed with stamps. And in hindsight, I could see where he was trying to keep himself occupied from all the other stuff. So if he were to get out today, he's 73. I don't think he would physically be able to, but I think he would have the desire to, because he was planning one. Oh God, no. I mean, he was planning one right before he was arrested. On one hand, he's my dad, but I'm also scared to death of him. So I'm pretty messed up still.
And you still have night terrors now?
I had one last night here in the hotel. I thought there was a man in my curtains there to strangle me.
This has to be cathartic for you to do this. And the biggest mistake that you can make is to internalize this And the best device you can have is to give your feelings of, because if you internalize it and you withdraw and isolate with it, then it can eat you up from the inside out. Your life was above the line.
Right.
His life was below the line. You never dipped below that line. Live above the line. Talk about it. Give it a voice. And keep it out there. Don't ever internalize this or it'll eat your life.
And I really was that little girl internalizing this thing. Like, I would tell my mom when I woke up with night terrors when I was little, I said, there's a bad man in my house. And she goes, there's no bad man here. So you end up in trauma therapy and you don't tell anybody for 10 years because you're like the child of a monster now publicly.
You weren't BTK's daughter. You were Dennis's daughter. And it's okay to feel betrayed. It's okay to feel anger. It's okay to have mixed emotions. You know, we have pivotal people in our lives. All of us have pivotal people. Everybody here has at least 5 pivotal people in their lives. And usually those pivotal people are not all positive or all negative. He is definitely a pivotal person in your life. That doesn't mean it was 100% negative for you. You can hate what he did. You can hate what he became. You can hate the evil he visited on people. But that doesn't mean you can't remember him baiting your hook at the lake in Kansas. Yeah. You do have that memory, and that's something that will make you insane if you try to deny that, because that was part of your existence. Listen, Carrie's book, it's a serial killer's daughter, and it's a story of faith, love, and overcoming. Overcoming is going to be a process for her the rest of her life. It is a fascinating read. I think you will learn a lot from it about how to overcome things in your life and how to really take a different look at those in your orbit in your life. So I highly recommend it. There's a lot of her soul in here. There's a lot of her pain in here, but it is an interesting read. So, Carrie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Next, we're going to meet a woman who says she comes from a town where some residents fear there may be a serial killer, and she wants answers as her daughter and husband are victims in some of the crimes. We're going to talk to them next. We'll be right back.
July 3rd, 2015, the last day anyone reported seeing Crystal Rogers. The Nelson County Sheriff named Rogers' boyfriend, Brooks Houck, a suspect in her disappearance.
My whole family's name is trashed for something that's completely not even tied to me.
Bardstown, Kentucky was once chosen as the most beautiful small town in America by Rand McNally. USA Today Best of the Road contest with its lush, beautiful green landscape, good, hardworking people, delicious food, and of course, it's known for its bourbon. This is Crystal, who lived in this scenic town her whole life and enjoyed the town so much she planned to never leave. That's why her family and friends thought it was strange that she vanished during the 4th of July weekend in 2015. To this day, her mom, Sherry, hasn't given up the search.
July 3rd, 2015, the last day anyone reported seeing or hearing from Crystal Rogers. Her parents, Tommy and Sherry Ballard, knew something was wrong when they couldn't get a hold of their daughter. The next day, investigators say the 35-year-old's car was found abandoned on the side of a Bluegrass Parkway.
The car was unlocked. It had her purse and phone in the seat, and her keys are still in it. She had a flat tire.
The Nelson County Sheriff named Rogers' boyfriend, Brooks Houck, a suspect in her disappearance, saying Rogers was likely dead. At the time, investigators released video of an interview with Houck days after his girlfriend was reported missing. He denied any involvement.
My whole family's name is trashed for something that's completely not even tied to me.
His brother, Nick Houck, was also fired from the Bardstown Police Department, accused of interfering with the investigation. An interview with the officer shows Nick Houck's reaction after an FBI polygraph examiner says he failed a test.
I don't give a what your computer said, okay? Thank you do. I'm telling you that I have been 100% honest with you.
The Ballards have asked the community to put up pink balloons to keep the name Crystal Rogers on everyone's mind. Hopeful someone out there with some key information will do the right thing.
I mean, I don't know what to tell our kids. I can't tell them she's not coming back because I can't prove to them that she's not.
And then, while Sherry and her husband Tommy were desperately searching all over Bardstown for their daughter, for Crystal, another unspeakable incident happened in Bardstown.
Tommy Ballard was shot in the chest Saturday morning just before 8 a.m. while hunting with relatives on family property.
Ballard was widely known in Nelson County for relentlessly searching for his daughter, Crystal Rogers.
The hardest is knowing she's out there.
3 questions remain unanswered by authorities. Who pulled the trigger? Was it an accident or a murder? And is Tommy Ballard's killing in any way tied to the disappearance of his daughter, Crystal Rogers?
Well, I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad to meet you. I'm sorry for the circumstance. I wish we were talking about 1,000 other things. But I'm doing this because I want to keep a bright light on over this story. I want to keep it on everybody's mind. Somebody knows something, and maybe this will cause them to say something. Do you think the 2 cases are linked?
Yes, 100%. Every news article we ever did, we said we would never give up looking for our daughter. And I think they thought the searches would stop, and I think it would just been easier for the killer if my husband was not in the picture.
Well, and I'm very sorry for your loss about your husband, of course. So what you believe is that whoever is involved in the disappearance of your daughter wanted to stop your husband's relentless search for her. So when he was out hunting, they just got in a position to take a shot and shot and killed him then to stop him from searching.
Yes,
so
sir.
you think they're linked in that way?
Yes, sir.
Since Sherry has been searching for answers, I wanted to reach out to former FBI criminal profiler and host of Investigation Discovery's Deadly Women. She's a good friend of mine, a good friend of the show's, and I think one of the wisest people when it comes to deconstructing these things that I've encountered in my 45 years in this business. I'm talking about Candace DeLong. Candace, you've looked into this. Help us think through this. What do we need to think about? What's to be looked at here?
Well, we were talking about Tom's death. He was out in a field. There were trees off to the distance. He was plainly visible to whoever shot him, and he was shot in the chest.
Center mass.
Center mass. Tells me it probably was not an accident. I think it's a premeditated murder. And whoever shot him was a very skilled at firearms.
Are these 2 cases related? She thinks they are.
I believe they are as well. One is missing, the other one's looking for the missing daughter, and he's murdered, and it is a murder in my opinion. The odds of that not being connected are probably astronomical. However, I think there's a reason that he was shot and killed in that open field. The shooter was sending a message to you and to anyone else who's sticking their nose into the case of Crystal to find out where she is. Fortunately for you, all of this publicity will help keep you safe.
And let me say to all of you, if you have any information about the disappearance of Crystal Rogers, any information about the shooting death of Tommy Ballard, please contact the Nelson County Police Department at 502-348-1840. We're going to have these numbers. You're seeing them on the bottom of the screen right now. They'll be on drphil.com. So they'll be easy to find. I'll put them on my Twitter account. I'll put them on Facebook. I'll put them on Instagram. I'll put them everywhere you can find me. That number's going to be there. So if you know something, however small, please let us know. How many of you are right where you wanted to be when you started out as an adult in your life and said, I got a plan? How many of you are right where you wanted to be? Raise your hand. Okay, that's like 5%. How many of you are not where you wanted to be when you started out? Okay, that's almost everybody. Would you agree with the statement that life gets in the way? If there's one theme that I get from people more than anything, it's that I had a plan and life got in the way. I was going to do this someday. But then you go look on your calendar and there's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, some days not on there. You look and it's just not in there. But what if I told you that I could help give you an edge in your life that would give you a second bite at the apple? And let me tell you why that's important. I have talked to so many people that spent their life working for what they did not want. And that's why I'm doing this series that I was telling y'all about on my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, called Living by Design. Because I think we should live on purpose. And I want you to figure out who you are and how you got there. Have you ever asked yourself how you got to be the person you are as you sit there in that chair right now today? If I handed out pieces of paper right now, how many of you think you could write down your definition of success with great detail? Wow, that's less than 10% of you could write down what success is in your life in great detail. Is that surprising to you? I've spent my life studying people that are champions. And you ask them, what is success? A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'll jinx myself. Not these people. These people say, oh, I can tell you exactly what it is. I can tell you what I'm going to be wearing. I can tell you what it's going to smell like in the room. I can tell you who's going to be there. They can define it with such detail. It's like a laser bomb. Zzz, boom, they know exactly what they're after. And I'm devoting this week's entire podcast to showing you how you can design your life. And it starts this whole series. So you guys all got your phones out, right? All right, go to your calendar, and I want you to go to 1 year from today and circle that. Because 1 year from now, I want you to remember us having this conversation. 1 year from today, your life is going to be better or worse than it is today. And a big part of whether it's going to be better or worse is a function of the choices you're going to make between now and then. And here's the problem. Once I've said this to you, you cannot not choose. Because not choosing is a choice. Now, the first thing you need to do is examine how you're looking at yourself and talking to yourself. I shared a personal story from my childhood on my podcast about the moment I realized how important that is. Take a look at this. We had a football game rain out when I was like 12 years old. And the Salvation Army calls. And they say to our coach, look, we've got a team over here. We don't get to play all that much. Could we come over and play a scrimmage game with you on Monday? And the coach says, well, sure, of course we will. So these guys pull up from the Salvation Army in like 3 pickup trucks. Nothing matches. They don't have jerseys. And the kid that lines up across from me, he's got on a button-up shirt for a jersey. And the number on the shirt is 4, and it's on in masking tape. Now, I'll tell you how snotty we were. We're in the huddle back there and saying, why didn't he do it in magic marker? Well, he didn't do it in magic marker because that was his shirt. He had to wear that to school the next day. So, I mean, we've got all this fancy uniforms and equipment. We're thinking we're so bad. And here's this ragtag team. Number 4 lined up across from me. And I got to tell you, when they snapped that ball, that kid hit me so hard, it still hurts when it rains. They beat us like they were clapping for a barn dance. We probably got beat 50-0. And right there, that moment, I became envious of those kids from the Salvation Army. I thought, I want what they have. If they can do so much with so little, how much should I be able to do with so much? If you want to hear more, you can download my podcast. And trust me, there's a lot of information there you don't want to miss. Here's how to subscribe. You search, fill in the blanks on your favorite podcast app, and you can subscribe for free. Then make sure you listen and enjoy. And remember, when this date pops up next year, your life is going to be better or worse than it was today. So let's make sure that it's better. Do that. Don't just be reactive. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Không ngủ công tao hồi sinh tụi bay. Mới chẳng qua điện thoại tôi đang sạc thôi. Ok. Thằng nào cắn ta. Cho em nó. Lát kìa. Hết chữ. Không mua luôn. Tắt đi luôn. Xin cho mình cảm ơn. Mình biết tắt công ty là gì đâu mà. Ấn thân nữa là tắt rồi. Này, mà mình nghĩ chơi lên cao thủ vậy nhé. Ở đây có mất mài. Chẳng có anh cho anh nghiện thôi. Con người có thời gian. Em không làm trực tiếp không được gì đâu. Hả? Video vẫn là bên mình ra rồi anh edit được. Okay. Mà edit game có tí. Anh làm kênh được. Hả? Anh cứ làm kênh được. Làm kênh thì người nào chỉ đang bằng vậy thôi mà. Anh biết nhanh lắm. Go! Trời ơi, tí nữa thì hái like được biến rồi. Trời ơi là trời, thằng nào bắn tôi. Funny. Cắt đồ từ đây cái cô bầu nữa. Mình chính thức từ bỏ cô bầu.
Double kill.
Thanks. Em ghép 2,6 phút vào cho anh thành 2 phút. Không kìa. Chứ cũng phải chấp nhận thôi. Em từ bỏ. Em bỏ cuộc. Good job. Chết rồi, ca này không được nhận chết rồi mọi người ơi. Mọi người ơi, mình không được nhận chết rồi. Ok. Thua rồi. Thua rồi. Thế là cái mẹ cả. Để mình ăn bùa cho. Lát vãi mấy lát luôn này này. Mấy mình đang rất chi là lát này. Mặt lưng lại lên bụng rồi anh em ơi. Mặt cái bắt đầu lại mụn rồi.
Có bé nào sẽ có đấy không?
Không trả lời là
có ở giữa
không.
Triple kill.
Và xin thông báo với mọi người là máy mình đã bị lag và bị văng ở game luôn rồi nha mọi người. Và mình sẽ tiếp tục với các bạn chơi tiếp nha. Nhưng mà là trận sau em ạ. Máy vẫn lag thì không lên thì gì rồi. Chứ rồi văng từ game luôn mà.
Đấy nên Đức chuột
Tức á, mình là tức á.
Không sợ đâu, tức của em mà.
Vâng em rồi mọi người. Đừng có lúc cảm á. Đừng có văng em rồi.
Cái này thì bay vào lao á. Lao á.
Bị văng game rồi. Mình bị văng game rồi.
Ui.
Này rồi đi xuống rồi mình lại kết nối lại trận đấu nha. Quên xả nước. Mãi game quá rồi. Cái này là mải game quá rồi. Đấy, còn nghiện nó dài đâu mà.
Không, nhưng mà anh xả mấy lần rồi. Không, anh xả anh phải giữ thôi chứ đừng bấm nó không xuống đâu.
Không phải mấy lần đi.
Nó không xuống đâu.
Hay nghiện game đến mức đấy thì chịu rồi, hết cứu nổi hơn rồi. Ok nha mọi người. Mình sẽ ngồi hẳn hoi và mình chơi game nha. Hơi lag tí nhưng mà anh thông cả. Tại máy mình yếu quá không thể chơi game mượt được. XR đúng không anh em? Phải chấp nhận. Ok. No. No.
Interactive's here. Interactive's here.
Đó. Tiếp tục nào. Ok nha. Ok nha. Ok nha mọi người. Hết cứu. Tôi đang cứu gánh cả cái đội này này. Làm hết sức có thể rồi đó.
Head there. Head there. Help me.
Ok. Chơi hồi sinh nó không hồi sinh mình. Vậy nó đánh vác con nắp nó mới hoàn toàn luôn, nhưng mà cảm giác lối chơi của nó khác biệt vậy. Sài Gòn Phantom vô địch Việt Nam, tưởng sắp vô địch thế giới anh ngờ bị chúng nó bón hành nhau không thắng thế nào, sợ thật. Không thắng nổi một game mà thua trắng hết mà. BO3 thua trắng hết thì chịu rồi. Đi gaming thì nghĩ còn thắng được một game là thua 2-1. Còn là cái gì book gaming thì còn đi được thắng một đội đấy. Ảo ai mất niềm tin. Trên tự tin cầm hắn nắc vô giải sớm là hiểu rồi. Talon năm nay có vẻ ổn nhưng mà nó vẫn chỉ đến 2. Ok nha mọi người. Ok, bên kia hồi sinh được sinh thế và sinh thế đang cố gắng để gắn đồng đội của chúng ta. Anh ấy đang gánh và gánh. Không có đâu. Đây là cái này đó. Cái ốm rồi. Cái này chắc là ốm luôn. Mai cuối tuần có định về không nhỉ? Của bà. Nhưng mà tớ mà về là cái tiền luôn. Vân về là về từ thứ 6 rồi. Xong thứ 2 lên thị trường đi làm. Quá mệt mỏi rồi. Ok mọi người. Được rồi, đi thôi. Ok. Em quần đùi, cứ thằng này hồi sinh thằng kia rồi thằng lấy lại hy sinh. Gì vậy?
Help me!
Kèo này khoai nhờ anh em nhỉ. Ok nha mọi người. Thứ tôi cần bây giờ là đạn chứ không phải là đồ linh tinh. Đạn, súng, trường. Mình cần những viên đạn, súng, trường chẳng hạn như vậy đó. Xong rồi thêm một chỗ gôn này, nó này. Chỗ gôn hay cho ngắm.
Triple
Ây
kill.
da. Cái gì nó chết luôn kìa.
Ui.
Ok. Nè, nè, nè. Tên 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 tên. Ok mọi người nha. Ủa, về story bị hết hạn rồi không? Chết rồi. Đi. Ok.